Hello everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. I'm super stoked to bring you guys the March 2022 horoscopes for all of the 12 signs. Hopefully February was good to you guys. I'm going to be discussing some of the most important transits for the month ahead, how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. I will also be pulling tarot cards and giving you guys some insight as to what is coming. It is a very magical month. If you guys are looking more for a general overview, stay tuned because on Monday, you're going to see my astro weather video, and I'm going to talk about all of the energies and how it's really playing out on the world stage in March, because this is the month where we're kind of laying the foundations for our dreams, and we're going to be given almost like two options where we can either assess things and really ask, okay, is my heart and soul into it? Is this really what I think life could be? Am I really grounded in some of my manifestations and my visions, or is it time to kind of wash some stuff away, kind of clear the slates and start anew? So we're going to be talking a lot about where Pisces and Capricorn are in the charts today. So if you like to follow along, grab your chart, pull it up on your screen or your tablet or your phone, or if you're old school, if you have a piece of paper, because that'll be very helpful for you guys. So here we go, March 2022 horoscopes for all of the 12 zodiac signs. As always, thank you guys for commenting, sharing, and subscribing. My goal is to be able to make content and put videos out here every day, hopefully by the end of summer. That's what I'm aiming towards to being able to do. So by your guys's shares and your views and your comments, you're going to help make that possible. I also have memberships, so if you want to subscribe to my memberships and support the channel, if you really like my content, there's 3 tiers. You can check out the links below. If you guys are not already aware, I have a brand new mailing list. I have the links also below in this video. If you sign up for my mailing list, you're going to get insights and information about signing up for my classes in the next month. I'm just waiting for this new moon to launch it. I'm going to start promoting it and talking about my Beginner's Astrology Study Club. So if you want to study with me, it's going to be a limited amount of students that I'm letting in terms of seats. And if you want to learn how I practice astrology, I am happy to teach you guys. So hopefully you enjoy that. I'm really looking forward to it. We've had quite a turnout already, so it was already very, very surprising. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. As always, I want to talk to you guys about the transits that catch my eye. You'll see me looking down. I'm looking at my laptop as I'm filming this, guys. Sorry. But the month kind of kicks off with March 2nd and Mercury and its conjunction to, you know, Saturn in Aquarius. That is an energy where you are going to manifest in 2 different ways, or you're going to experience this energy in 2 different ways. One can be the more serious side of the Mercury-Saturn conjunction. So it can be serious conversations, it can be serious planning, it can be make or break decisions, committing to something. So Saturn almost can be like that glue, right? That kind of sticks everything together. And Mercury is the messenger, or Mercury is how we process and relate information. So signing contracts, agreeing to things. Thankfully, now we're finally coming out of, in the beginning of March, the Venus and also the Mercury retrograde shadow. So really this month, if you harness the energies appropriately, you can actually make a lot of magic happen. And a lot of that's because of the placements that are in Capricorn currently. But when Mercury conjuncts Saturn, another way that this can manifest is feeling shut down, unable to share, unable to communicate, talk, agree to something. There can be more pessimistic, kind of heavy news that can come out. And you can feel either mentally blocked or incapable of sharing. Now, I'll talk about this more in my monthlies, but I do think that this may manifest as a lot of people who are jumping ship from social media platforms or feeling very limited in what they can say on Facebook, Twitter, what have you. And there may be a rollout of new limitations and also just censorship that's going to have people probably up in arms and feeling very limited in terms of what they can share or what they can, especially when it's about their goals or what they believe in, right? Very Aquarian needs that freedom. So It's a day to watch. We'll talk about how it's going to affect each of the signs because it's going to be in the sign of Aquarius. Then on March 3rd, we're going to see Mars and Venus come into conjunction in Capricorn. So there is this buildup happening where Mars, Venus, and Pluto are all getting ready to align. Now, as I'm filming this, it's the end of February. Definitely already feeling it. You know, when we break these all down archetypally, Mars is the planet of war, cutting, aggression, courage, fearlessness, and it's exalted in Capricorn, so it's very intense. I'm not surprised by the situation that's kind of going on in Ukraine and in other places in the world, because we're going to start seeing much more Mars-Pluto energy, which can be intense, it can be dangerous, it can be brutal, and you guys really want to look at where Capricorn is in your chart for that. Now, thankfully, it is being kind of tapered by Venus, and Venus does want peace. So I think it's interesting that, you know, Venus is kind of in the mix with these two heavy-hitting planets, and she is trying to bring peace, or it can be very powerful men and women in uniforms or in the military that are really pushing for peace. And I imagine that in the days ahead, and into probably about 2 weeks from now, we're going to see lots more opportunities in negotiation for discussing and talking about peace. A lot of this is also because of the sextiles to Neptune, and Neptune in Pisces definitely wants that. But Pluto is the god of the underworld, and it is one of the, it is the furthest planet in our solar system. So being that Mars and Venus are conjunct, people are going to kind of boil over with passion. We can see tendencies for obsession, fixation, jealousy, you name it. When Venus and Mars come together, it's very passionate, but when you throw Pluto into the mix, there can be some much more dark, sinister things that kind of come out, especially on a global level or within politics. That's something else that can happen, or in regards to world leaders. So all of this is going to be really kind of setting up on March 3rd. Now, if you've followed my recent videos the last couple of months, you know that we had a Venus retrograde that stopped short at about 26 degrees before it retrograded of Capricorn. Same thing with Mercury. Although Mercury conjuncted this degree, it went into Aquarius and it retrograded back. But the fact that Mercury retrograded and also Venus retrograded over these degrees where Pluto is suggests, at least in my opinion, that certain world governments knew that this pressure was mounting. At least here in the United States, I remember, you know, looking at the news, seeing stuff like 2 weeks ago where the U.S. was encouraging people who were in Ukraine to get out of Ukraine. So that a little suspicious to me, but okay. So I think the retrograde, now that it's wrapping up, it might kick some of this stuff up that we might have known for quite some time that this was coming. And what the involvement was from certain world governments, and whether or not they were doing it for reasons that are not so savory, that might have been more kind of financial reasons, you know, money-making opportunities, unfortunately. So more of that, I'll talk about that in my monthlies. But nevertheless, that is a very unusual conjunction. Okay, this is a very unusual conjunction. This can be the push where you get very passionate about something and go, that's it, I've had enough, and you work with another person, or you work with your partner, or you're working through issues revolving around guilt, responsibility, expectations, meeting deadlines, timelines, things like that. And because it's in Capricorn, which does deal with our legacy, our career, what we do out in the world, certain people are almost being pushed to the brink with their careers or their jobs of just realizing this is not my passion, this is not my purpose, this is not why I'm here. This conjunction is having conversations with the North Node in Taurus, so it's making trines, which is suggesting that we're more focused on stability, security, having what we need, enjoying ourselves, pleasure, making money, and having resources that we obtain in a pleasurable way. It's also about embodiment. And so I've been talking about that a lot. The North Node in Taurus is embodiment. It's how we feel in our bodies. Do we feel safe? Do we feel secure? Do we feel in control? So I think a lot of people, especially with these conjunctions to Pluto, what you guys don't realize is in about a year's time, we're going to see Pluto enter into Aquarius briefly. It will fully move into Aquarius at, I think, the fall of 2023, going into 2024. I'm going to have a video coming out pretty soon about that. But nevertheless, when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we're going to see a very different vibe than what we see right now with Capricorn. I feel like on one hand, it's going to lead some people to freedom and enjoying freedom and being able to live a much more authentic life, and the way that they view and kind of wield their power may be different. On the other hand, for some people, it may materialize more as being more stuck in the system. So stay tuned. We'll talk a little bit about that video. I have a special guest coming for one of my fireside chats next week, so I'm excited to put that video out. It's about an hour and a half of me talking to one of my really good friends who's an astrologer about some of our predictions of Pluto in Aquarius. Then on March 5th, this is what most astrologers are going to call the luckiest day of the year, maybe in some capacity, but the sun will conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. So, you know, Jupiter loves being in Pisces. It's expansive, it's intuitive, it's magical, mystical, and it's very emotional. And when the sun comes into conjunction with Jupiter, it can be a day where you can just see that luck is on your side, that there is some lucky break, some breakthrough, some excitement, joy. Over-optimism is something that you want to watch for. But overall, the sun conjunct Jupiter can be an indication of an opportunity for spiritual and soul growth, especially when it's in the sign of Pisces. So I'm hoping and anticipating that there's the possibility, both with this buildup in early March and then finally the sun conjunct Jupiter in Pisces, that will materialize more so as the opportunity for peace and being able to dissolve any conflicts that might be going on. So there's some contradicting energy in the skies, lots of great sextiles between Capricorn and Pisces, which makes me feel like this is possible. But there's going to be some more gnarly conjunctions this month and also in April to Saturn, which represents new limitations and boundaries and restrictions in some capacity. Nevertheless, look for where Pisces is in your chart. That's where you're going to have this lucky break, and we'll talk a little bit about this when I get into each and every one of the 12 signs. On March 5th, Mars and Venus will enter into Aquarius, and this is nothing new. Mars and Venus have been kind of kissing, going back and forth really since the beginning of February. They started getting closer, I think around like the 10th or the 11th, and they've been moving through the sign of Capricorn for some time. Actually, Venus has been in Capricorn for like, oh my goodness, since November. So I think a lot of you guys are going to be excited to have Venus leave Capricorn. It has been a challenging one, man, with all the retrogrades and the conjunctions to Pluto. But in many ways, the first 2 or 3 months of 2022 was meant to kind of give us the opportunity to ask what we want to change and transform, and where we're not experiencing joy or pleasure. I have to say, as somebody who is a natal Venus in Capricorn and a Venus-based chart, it has been very eye-opening and insightful, rather challenging and difficult for the most part, but I think that that pressure and that difficulty creates incentive to be able to create change. So I'm hoping that it has materialized the same way for you guys. But on the 5th, what's most interesting is not just the ingress, but the ingress together, right? They're going to move together. So it's almost like Mars, the masculine, Venus, the feminine, saying, okay, you know, we're on to greener pastures. What can we change? Where can we have more freedom? Where can we focus more on love that may be more friendship-based or more free? Love that may materialize as innovations and kind of opening up relationship topics and working together as a team. It's not just romantic love when it moves into the fixed air sign of Aquarius. It's more also about community, unity, friendships, love that is going to not be just between two romantic partners, but, you know, platonic, right? And also anytime we're seeing these movements into the fixed sign, it's carrying off the energy of what's been building in Capricorn. So for example, if you had a breakdown and then a breakthrough, this can materialize as getting really passionate and feeling incentivized to do something different, whether that's dressing a different way, you know, eating a different way, having changes in your relationships, changing your job, changing your hobbies, your pleasures. And this 0 degrees of Aquarius piqued my interest because if you guys think back to the end of 2020 when Saturn and Jupiter entered into Aquarius together, a lot of people were calling it the Great Conjunction. I think it's going to reactivate that point. Like, I think what we're going to see is that this is almost like setting the stage for the upgrades that are really going to start happening in April. Really hear me on this, guys, okay? March is the month that you want to be active. If you have been feeling limited, suppressed, if you've been feeling blocked, we want to create this change. We want to work with all of the energy in Pisces to help us really visualize the life that we want and what could be. And what I love about the Pisces energy is that it's going to give us the opportunity to be dreamy and creative and spiritual. And sometimes Pisces can be like a little ungrounded in its energy because it's a mutable sign, right? And it's emotional because it's water. But that's being tapered a lot with the sextiles to planets in Capricorn, and also the sextiles to the North Node in Taurus, that I think it's going to keep us grounded in our reality when it comes to creating, designing, and reimagining the future of what our life looks like. But with Mars and Venus at 0 degrees, it may activate some of the commitments and the agreements or some of the things that were going on for you in December of 2020. So you might want to reflect back on that time and what happened. Aquarius is very much about vibrations, and it's also about the future. So I interpret the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction as at the end of December, it was a lot of like, the future looks bright. This is what it could be if we really commit to it, right? And just at least in my clients' lives and very much in my life, where that fell in my chart was this commitment to being willing to do a lot of heavy lifting and really coming more so into that Aquarian energy. Now, I'm personally doing it partially because it's all in my North Node, but partially because I know that Pluto is going into Aquarius, and some of the changes that may feel challenging this year, and just in terms of pivoting and adapting, is going to better prepare us for when Pluto goes into Aquarius. So it's almost like we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. So look for where Aquarius is in your chart, because the lovers are moving there. They're going to get you kind of fired up and passionate about something. Now on March 6th, Mercury in Aquarius will square the nodes of the moon. And I love talking about squares to the nodes of the moon because I have a background in evolutionary astrology. And when we look at the nodes of the moon, so right now the South Node is in Scorpio and the North Node is in Taurus. Mars and Venus should be closely watched all year long as we go through these transits. I really love the fact that it's putting us in a position on March 6th basically to say, okay, consciously, in terms of how we think, how we communicate, assess information, when we're directing and organizing things, we're almost going to find ourselves at a fork in the road where we have to kind of ask ourselves, okay, do I want to move into the future or do I want to stay in the past, right? Because it's going to square the nodes. So in evolutionary astrology, in more so in a natal chart, we see a planet square the nodes as a skip step, kind of indicating that we didn't do a lot of that in a past life. We have challenges making decisions revolving around that topic or that aspect in our chart. And it's asking us to take an evolutionary or a quantum leap forward and move out of our South Node and move more into our North Node. So when we see Mercury in Aquarius, which is coming out of the conjunction with Saturn, so we felt kind of beat down, limited, had some difficult conversations, then it comes into the square with the nodes, and it's pretty much the universe's way of saying, are you going to speak up? Are you going to have that conversation? Are you going to read that book? Are you going to book that trip? Are you moving away from the South Node in Scorpio, which is more fear and trauma based? Are you reacting in a defensive manner? Are you holding on to traumatic thoughts, ideas, and memories? Are you not speaking up about your pain? Or are you going to move more towards the North Node, which is ruled by Venus, and it's Taurus, and it's all about having these conversations of how we can collectively work together. I think to problem solve, to kind of throw our hat into the ring and offer insight or information or assistance in some capacity so we can go further into the North Node. Just a heads up, guys, in the weeks ahead, you're going to see Mars, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn all square the North Node and the South Node. So it has a sequence to it, so it's gonna go in order, and some of this stuff is still gonna be playing out into April. But by the time we get to the real hard conjunctions to Saturn and square the nodes next month, what you're gonna see is like there's no turning back. There's almost something that we have to adapt with and we have to kind of change and morph into. And I think that the precursors of some of these things that are coming are gonna be starting as early March. So on the 6th, you may find yourself in a situation where you have to have a conversation or relay a message or commit to something or start a program, write something down. It's about information, intellect, and knowledge. I encourage you to rise to the occasion and do it, because you know, that is going to help us kind of lay the blueprint for when Venus and Mars and Saturn come into the conjunction and then the square to actually create change. It's like we're going to have a new like strategy of sorts, right? And we might need other people or need a team in order to facilitate making that happen. On the 13th of March, the Sun will conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Now, this is a day to watch because it's very spiritual. It can be great for dream interpretation, meditation, relaxing, unwinding, feeling very divinely inspired. So if you are a creative, if you are a spiritualist, if you are a poet, an author, if you're a musician, it can be a time where almost, you know, Neptune wants to throw us into the waves of the ocean and be overcome with emotions and feelings and dreams. Can be a lower energy day, so that's something I would say, especially if you're like a Pisces sun, moon, and rising. It can be a day that it's much more about kind of relaxing, being in water, being by the beach, soaking, you know, going to the spa, anything like that can be wonderful right around the time of this day, especially if you are feeling a little energetically drained. That can definitely be something that's happening this month with all of the conjunctions, both between Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. On this day, it can also be a great time to like get a reading, get a massage, talk to a therapist, a spiritualist, meditate more, sleep in, stuff like that. And it can have this effect where we have strong intuitive hits and we feel very divinely connected to source. So hopefully that's a day that you're using to vibe out, relax, meditate, and try to receive some of those messages, or just be more mindful of your spiritual routines in general, and be very focused and aware. I want you guys all month long to be aware of where your thoughts are going, because where attention goes, energy flows, and we're in a very strong manifestational state, and we want to make sure that we're manifesting and building towards the life that we want, and moving out of past histories where we've had pain, we've had healing, we've had disappointment, or we haven't had healing, excuse me, or we need healing and we've had disappointment. These conjunctions are wonderful, but they're also making sextiles and aspects to Pluto, as well as trines to the South Node. So it really is about releasing pain, letting go, learning from the past, being able to say, it's okay. I can let this go now. I don't have to hold it in my body anymore. I don't have to hold it in anymore. I don't have to be afraid anymore. This transit is going to allow us to really release and kind of let go and let God, if that's something that we need to do, especially if it's something that's very emotionally overwhelming, and something we've been holding on to for some time. On March 19th, Venus in Aquarius will come into a square with Uranus in Taurus. This is something to watch, especially because the North Node is ruled by Taurus. All of the energies in Pisces are making sextiles to the North Node in Taurus, so it's really genuinely trying to bring us more stability, healthier bodies, more pleasure, more sex, more love, more romance, more art. But when we see Venus the goddess come into a friction-based square with Uranus, which is also in a Venus-based sign, I guess the one beneficial thing that you've got going on here is there is at least a mutual reception, right? Because Venus rules Taurus, and Taurus is about love and beauty, and Uranus rules Aquarius. So they're having a conversation with each other. We call this mutual reception, even though they're in a square, so that's friction. They both might be trying to say the same thing. They both might be trying to be saying, you know, like, I also want pleasure. I also want freedom. Like, I also want to change. I want to be, pulled out of the matrix. So the only way I can explain this is like, if you've seen, a couple or two people who are arguing very passionately, but they're really saying the same thing. Maybe they have like a Mercury opposition or different Mercuries, but they're going back and forth and they're kind of fighting, right? So when Venus comes into the square with Uranus, Venus really does in Aquarius need freedom. She needs socializing. She needs to be able to go and be with her tribe. And she really is going to feel this incentive to override pre-existing, I think, financial or romantic or perhaps even some particular belief system when it comes to values, right? So it can be things like, yeah, I'm supposed to go to work today, but I'm really fed up with some of the stuff that's going on, and I'm actually going to go to that protest, and I'm going to, call into work and probably not get paid for the day. That's the square to Uranus and Taurus. But I'm going to go and I'm going to protest because I feel like at the end of the day, if we don't do this, then there isn't going to be a change in general. Then we're going to keep feeling this oppression. So I'm curious about what happens. I'm extremely curious about how women respond to this because the feminine is ruled by Venus. And I'm imagining that when it comes to love, money, resources in general, women might act a little bit more intense than usual. You can see upsets in the markets. You can also see upsets in relationships, especially if you have planets that are around the degrees where this is squaring. So it's going to be anywhere between 10 and 12 degrees of the fixed sign. So you really want to pay attention, very much so. So that includes you also, Scorpio and Leo, pay attention. Then on the 20th of March, we see Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. So this is good news. It may still feel a little cloudy. It may still feel a little bit like we're waiting for the facts to kind of pile in. Mercury conjunct Jupiter can be very insightful, but it's more spiritual, right? Mercury in Pisces is kind of like the answers that you get from a crystal ball or a dream or an intuitive hit that somebody has, and they walk up and they're like, do you have a grandma that, that passed? She has a message for you, that kind of stuff. It's weird. It's not super direct. Remember, Pisces is a mutable sign. So it can be news that something is changing, but it's for the better. So it can be like, oh, well, all right. Like, I didn't think it was going to go like that, but great. Awesome. Happy, happy, happy coincidences, or perhaps maybe even news that just kind of takes you, off guard. You didn't see it coming. This would be a day, especially if you're very mercurial or if you're ruled by Jupiter, that I would really pay attention to intuitive hits. And or also anything in regards to dreams and dream interpretation. Really, really be open for that, guys. Like, I'm looking forward to it because I feel like all of March, but especially around this time, I'm going to be meditating more, chanting more, keeping my space clean, burning my incense, really focusing on keeping the vibes super high. So I'm very aware and open from these messages that are going to start coming from source. So that way I can feel even more so inspired, so I can do even more work, good work, spiritual work, work that feels fulfilling, stuff that's going to help people. So I've kind of delayed some of the stuff that I've been working on because I'm hoping that these energies are going to come in, and it's also going to give me a sense of a redirection. And I'm a little hesitant to launch things or do things until we've had these conjunctions. So hopefully it's super magical for you. Good news all around. Mercury, Jupiter is good news. Could be good travel news. It can be information revolving around global travel as well, and business. Then we have on the 22nd of March, Mars in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. Okay, so you guys noticing a pattern here? Mercury squares and has a tough conversation or gets some kind of weird news. This is after its conjunction to Saturn. So Saturn and Mercury conjunct, and you have to make a hard decision. Mercury squares the nodes. You have to talk about it. You have to share that information. You have to relay it. You have to organize it, commit or sign something in some capacity. Then we have Venus square Uranus, which is like, okay, we're updating our standards. We're doing something different. We're focusing more on the collective or group empowerment or what's best for everybody. Or Aquarius is our dreams. So we're investing in our dreams, regardless of what it means financially or physically in the moment. Now we're going to have Mars in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. So the Mars square Uranus is a little bit more combative. We think Mars is like heat. It can be arguments. It can be war. Uranus can be explosions. So there can be some explosive kind of reactions to things in the world. There can be some heated tempers. You want to be very careful when driving, traveling, anything like that, when we see these squares, because usually that's some kind of like an eruption. Now I'm imagining that the Mars in Aquarius, because that's more an air energy, with the square Uranus and Taurus, can be extreme fluctuations in weather, possibly, especially, even though we're coming into the spring, we can see that suddenly spring comes very quickly. There can be all kinds of changes in like heat that suddenly shows up, and then it puts a lot of pressure, and it can create storms, and we can see some actual global issues that manifest from that. But also I just think Mars in Aquarius is just people uniting and coming together who are super frustrated because the system is broken. And when it squares Uranus and Taurus, I think that what we're going to see is just a lot more volatility. All month, we're going to see a lot of volatility in the markets, a lot. And it's going to be peaks and valleys quite a bit this month. So those of you guys who are involved in investing and stuff, just be mindful of that. And I would not be encouraging people to take a lot of risks, because this is going to be a period of time that's very difficult to predict what's going to happen. You guys are probably going to see just before, or maybe right after the new moon at the beginning of the month, we might also see another like correction. So I'm not a financial advisor, but just looking at how this is going to play out, it's going to be all over the map. But Mars in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus, you want to watch out for conflicts, arguments, especially when it comes to money, resources, politics, and just move cautiously and slowly. Be careful if you're operating machinery, driving, using anything sharp or anything hot. So be mindful of that. Once again, that's still going to be very much hitting that 9 to about 12-ish degrees of the fixed sign. So you're still kind of in the hot seat, guys. You're being pressured to really rise to the occasion. These squares put pressure on us, and they can bring about conflict, or they can bring about things that require you to act. And although that sounds scary, I have to tell you, after a year or so of some of these squares, you're going to find that you're going to create great change in several areas of your life. So be careful about what you're listening to with other astrologers. I've gotten quite frustrated on a lot of the online forums and stuff that I've been seeing, especially like on Facebook and stuff, just like a lot of bad Twitter astrology that's just like telling people like, oh, watch out for the square, you know, it's going to be so hard. Yeah, but at the same time, it's doing that to push you forward. Remember that we're here to supersede our astrological placements. We're not bound by the stars in any capacity. We have free will. And if it wasn't for some of these situations where there's pressure, we wouldn't make change. So we've got now on March 28th, Venus conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. So I guess in traditional astrology, you know, because Venus does rule health, Venus does rule relationships, it rules marriage, money, partnerships, harmony, peace, balance. And Venus, you know, being in a Saturn-based sign, I think helps, because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn traditionally. And in Vedic texts, I always go back to this because I'm a Venus-Saturn person. I always go back to the fact that like Venus loved Saturn. You know, there's a reason why Saturn is exalted in Libra, right? And although Venus-Saturn can be difficult lessons in love or having to have difficult discussions, I've also seen many Venus-Saturn transits manifest more as a commitment, a promise. Sometimes it's a business merger. Sometimes it's an investment of time, an investment of feelings. And sometimes it can materialize as people deciding to get married, deciding to open businesses, deciding to invest, deciding to get engaged. So I don't have the same perspective as some people. I think that being that Venus is coming out of the square with Uranus about 10 days prior, and Venus is coming into conjunction with Saturn, it's just recommitting to the plan. And we can find that there can be make or break moments that are happening within that 10-day period leading up to March 28th before we make a bigger decision about relationships and just our values or our money in general. But watch for that day. It's a day to be a little bit more practical, a little bit more cautious, a little bit more reserved, especially when it comes to just investments and money opportunities, because we want to remember that we need to kind of go a little bit more of like a traditional path. It's a little bit more conservative with that conjunction. This will probably be felt the strongest by Venus ruled charts. So Libra risings, Taurus risings, you guys are really going to feel this. Taurus, this is about really committing to something in regards to like parenting or your career, or just really making sure that you're loving, you know, what you're doing. It's your 10th house. And Libra, this is in your 5th house of creative projects. It also can be about investments. You want to be careful with investments this month. Be investing in yourself. It can also be commitments revolving around a creative project, or just committing more to having fun, loving yourself, or maybe making a commitment that is in regards to children or pregnancy. And then the month wraps with March 30th, Venus in Aquarius square the nodes of the moon. Interesting, right? So as if Saturn conjunct Venus wasn't enough being like, hi, you need to do this. The Venus in Aquarius square the nodes of the moon is even more so. That is really reinforcing that actually, no, you have to do this relational work. And when Venus squares the nodes, we want to look very much at the North Node. Remember, guys, even though we're not seeing some of these manifestations yet, we have to keep remembering that we're building a very beautiful, abundant, healthy life where we are grounded, we're checked in, we're enjoying our job, it's pleasurable. I have never seen so many people who are like, I'm quitting my 9-to-5 job. I have this, amazing salary, but all I want to do is, go and bake bread. Or all I want to do is open a clothing store for dogs. Or all I want to do is become a florist or a potter. I mean, all kinds of like really Venusian things. And it really is going to depend on where the North Node is in Taurus for you guys. So remember that whatever is happening that feels sticky this month, it's trying to get to where the North Node is. And a lot of the struggle that you're going through right now will make a lot more sense in like May, June, July, as we start seeing these things manifest. And we're getting more into a life that we love, and we're practicing really being present and really physically being in our bodies. So sometimes Venus Saturn conjunctions or Venus square the nodes can materialize as health problems or issues at work, or feeling some kind of like physical, crunch and not being as mobile or not being as capable of showing up in our jobs, which can manifest as health ailments or healing crises, losing jobs, losing relationships, when in reality, it's because we're trying to get more into the North Node of actually feeling good in our bodies. So there can be a lot of things around us environmentally and relationship-wise, and things that we're eating and things that we're consuming, that our mind is consuming, our eyes are consuming, that's really not helping us get into the embodiment state. So we may have to make some difficult calls this month regarding what we need to change in order to kind of get to that place. So there is a method to the madness. It reminds me of that quote that's like, what the heart, grieves over losing, the spirit rejoices. Really think about that. I've been thinking about that a lot the last month. That's just like, man, it's really hard for me to like let this thing go, or like let this situation go, or let that habit go, or let that person go. But then when I really sit with it and ask myself like, okay, is this something that my heart really, really does need? Maybe it doesn't want, it doesn't agree with, it's kicking and screaming. Then when I meditate and go deeper into those feelings, it's like, oh, I got like this spiritual sigh of relief that's just like, I don't have to deal with that anymore, or I can let that go. And healing takes a lot of courage, but we all have a little bit of courage, and we are definitely capable of being able to get there. So hopefully that inspires you, because, man, I know about the energies. I'm still going through it. So it's not just you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the month ahead. Please listen for your rising sun and moon sign. I am a tropical Western astrologer, so these are tropical Western predictions. I get people who ask me if I'm Vedic. No, I'm not, but I know a lot of great Vedic people. Give you some recommendations. I am a Western astrologer. Now you can listen to your rising, your sun, and your moon. I would recommend in that order. I love astrology, but I'm not a big sun sign astrologer because I feel like it plays on the ego, and we kind of need to keep the ego in check these days. So if you want to know and really want predictions regarding what's going to physically happen in your life to help you navigate change, listen to your rising sign. If you want to hear how to find happiness, joy, career changes, things that you really want to hear, listen to your sun sign. The moon sign will definitely apply. You can see a lot of that apply in my predictions, and it's also really going to be super beneficial for you emotionally. If you guys resonate with your progress charts, I've heard a lot of that recently. That's totally fine. You can listen to your progress chart as well. It's kind of like choose your own adventure, right? So the month kicks off with Aries. Aries, how are you guys doing? How is it going? It is Pisces season, which means it is the clearing season right before your birthday. So I'm going to talk about just like a recap of some of the transit dates for all of the signs, and let you know where it's aspecting you, what's happening, and what you might expect. So this is a good time if you guys want to write this down, or if you want to pull out your calendars, or yeah, just make a note. So if you're an Aries, sun, moon, or rising. On the 2nd of March, Mercury is going to conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. Okay, so I want you to know that it's very much about something in regards to you making some kind of a commitment. It might be a serious conversation you have to have with a friend. Okay, it's happening in your 11th house. So committing to your dreams, committing to a group project, committing to making a big shift in regards to your goals, networking, joining something of that regard is kind of taking place for you. On the 3rd of March, you are going to see that there is a Mars-Venus-Pluto conjunction happening in your 10th house of career, responsibility, authority, and your identity out in the world. Some of you guys are in the process of going through a career breakup. Some of you guys are in the process of going through separations and actual divorces, divorcing yourself from an old identity, a person, a situation, a bad job, a horrible boss. There's something like that that's kind of building. And I just want you to keep in mind all of the energy. To Pisces is saying you can dissolve things if you need to. You can go into rest and recuperation before you start again. You might be working and collaborating with friends this month in some capacity and joining new groups or associations to help you find something new or actually start a group of your own. But watch out on the 3rd for that conjunction to be taking place, especially because it is going to involve Mars, which is your chart ruler. So for it to conjunct your 8th house Lord, Pluto, and also your 7th and 2nd house Lord, Venus, definitely big change in values and what's going on at work. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Some of you guys may have a total upgrade and you move from being an employee to being a boss, or you move from working from someone else to working on your own. But there is a huge power up going on, and it's definitely going to affect you pretty prominently. On the 5th, you are going to see the Sun conjunct Jupiter, and that is a day for rest, recuperation, and healing because it's taking place in your 12th house. So it's important for you to get a little more rest, get a little bit more R&R. If you need to see a healer, a therapist, if you need to just kind of rest and recuperate, maybe you need a break, maybe you're taking a break in between jobs and starting something new, that can be a wonderful time for you to do that. Then again, on the 13th of the month, you are also going to see that the Sun will conjunct Neptune. Now, these are two of the more spiritual days for you this month. There can be really prominent dreams and insights that you can get as a result of these conjunctions. The Sun rules your 5th house, so it also can represent feeling more creative and inspired and working behind the scenes on something. And it can be kind of burning the candle at both ends in a way, and maybe finding that you're working more and you're up at night. On the 5th through the 6th of the month, Mercury in Aquarius will square the nodes. And you're also going to see Mars and Venus move into Aquarius. Now, this is all happening in your 11th house. So it's interesting now, you see Mars and Venus, your chart ruler, and your 7th and your 2nd house ruler go into the 11th. Maybe you get fired up working with people. Maybe you're socializing more. Maybe you're just really excited about your goals. And then when we see Mercury square the nodes, it's going to represent definitely needing to have a conversation or learning something or assessing something and really integrating that. Maybe you're working with a group of people who are helping you learn more about assets, money, investments, resources, things of that nature. Maybe you're building a group and you're needing to kind of stick to a budget in some capacity, or you're just focusing on learning more about money so you can achieve some of your financial goals. On the 19th of the month, Venus will square Uranus. So you're going to see friction between, Venus in your 11th house of friendships. It's squaring the nodes. It might represent there being a bit of a conflict in regards to relationships and friendships. A partner can get a little weird about you being close with other people. On the flip side, it can be a time where really needing to join groups and group work and participating in that is really, really, really important when it comes to the future of your finances. You may have a little bit of strife revolving around borrowing or lending money to a friend or something in regards to funding something. So there can be some like setbacks in that. That's very unexpected. Watch for the sparks. Be very careful when it comes to like mixing, romantic relationships and friendships, because there can also be a little bit of weirdness there as well. Sometimes it can also just be about this push to be like, okay, I want my partner to meet my friends and I want my friends to like my partner. That can be one way that it kind of materializes. Then you're going to see on the 20th, Mercury will conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. This is happening in your 12th house. So this is going to probably materialize as feeling inspired, having a dream, a vision, really staying the course of what your beliefs are, and getting some insight. I would really recommend consider getting a reading. It can be a great day for that. It might be just the perfect vibe and the energy to talk to somebody who might help you work through a crisis and see a blind spot if you have one, especially spiritually. On the 22nd of the month, Mars in Aquarius is going to square Uranus in Taurus. Now this is happening for you in your natal 11th, and it's going to square to Uranus in your 2nd. So this can also be some kind of group incentive, pooling money, resources. There can be a conflict or an argument about money that's owed. So watch for that. There can also be this like real push when it comes to your finances. Friends might be pushing you, saying, make the investment, take the jump, do it. I think that you're probably going to hear a lot about cryptocurrency and investments and what you're doing with your resources this month. And you're kind of feeling like you need to make some moves, right? Then on the 28th, Venus will conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. That's the ruler of your 2nd and your 7th. So it can be you going, you know, that's it, I'm taking the jump, I'm buying the crypto, or, you know, I'm never loaning money to a friend ever again. Or just kind of possibly having a bit of friction in a friendship, and it can really be about a difference of opinion. So you really want to watch for just like getting involved in just heated conversations on social media. You really want to watch for discussing politics or anything of that nature. It may not play out well. You might find that some friends have some differences of opinions, and it really affects what friends you keep or vice versa. Then on the 30th of the month, Venus will square the node, so it's just shortly after that, and that's going to materialize as possibly having to make a decision in regards to a friendship or a relationship. It does rule your 7th and your 2nd, so it can be a lot of like, do I value this person? Does this person value me? Do I, you know, take them? Do I leave them? It can also materialize as like going back and forth and asking yourself, like, is this person a friend? Are they something more? What do they have of value? Are they really bringing peace to my life, or is it bringing too much drama? So that's something that I definitely think that you're going to be thinking about, Aries. Hopefully that's helpful for you. And let's see what the cards say. So the card that I get is the Moon. This is, I think, really talking a lot about just, you know, where you're at with things. Are you hiding out? Are you feeling like you need to rest more? Are you avoiding certain situations? What is your intuition telling you? It can talk about your subconscious and what's not seen or what's unknown. There can be subconscious fears that are coming up for you out of the blue. It's really about trusting your intuition and being willing to uncover issues where you have uncertainty. Likely this can happen in a subconscious state. So while you're sleeping, maybe you go to a therapy appointment, maybe you do a past life regression, maybe you get answers in meditation. So that's always going to be something that's not going to be conscious. Also, hypnotherapy can be really helpful for you if you're kind of hitting a wall and you're finding it very difficult for you to really open up and make a change in some kind of like lifestyle or habit. So hopefully that's helpful. Now we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. Hey Taurus, how's it going? How are you doing? On the 2nd of the month, we are going to see that Mercury is going to come into conjunction with Saturn. So this is happening in your 10th house. It's all about making commitments seriously and long-term wise when it comes to your career. Now, it does have a lot also to do with money and resources. Mercury does rule your 2nd house of resources. It also rules your 5th house, which deals with children, creativity, anything of that nature. So I could see there's like this decision that needs to be made about commitments when it comes to money and resources and children. You might feel like you need to commit more seriously financially before you can have kids. You might be feeling the pressure or the burden of investing more money into a self-employed position. You might really want to see those numbers on the board. But it's definitely you getting serious about making plans for your responsibility in the future. So it's not just limited to 10th house career. It can also very much be about serious conversations revolving children. Then on the 3rd, Mars, Venus, and Pluto are going to come into conjunction in Capricorn, and that will be in your 9th house. So Venus rules your chart, and Mars rules your 7th house of partnerships. So it's really important to pay attention. You might have a conversation with a partner that comes out of the blue, that's something they're stressing out about or something they've been holding on to, that they have been holding in, that they need to say. This Mars-Venus conjunction in your 9th house can be about the bigger picture, planning for larger trips, plans, you know, international travel, moving, publishing, your belief system. But it's always about you and other people, because Mars and Pluto rule your 7th. So it's about sitting down and kind of discussing the bigger future, the future plans, and tying it all together for you. Now, this is positive because this is a sister sign, so Capricorn does make aspects to your chart. Because you're a Taurus, so it is going to be trining in some capacity, one of those placements. It's important for you to really sit down and listen and talk about the future in a very strategic and practical way. Timing may be involved in some capacity, especially when it comes to planning some of these events. Now, on the 3rd of the month, you're going to see Sun come into conjunction with Jupiter. So this is wonderful. You might make a new friend. You might join a new group or an association. You might become more aware of your goals and your passions, and you might feel really positive and optimistic about that. You can have a lucky break from a friend. A partner can introduce you to someone, or you can just find that your goals are about paying something off or getting ahead financially. On the 13th of the month, you're going to see the Sun come into conjunction with Neptune, and that's going to be an interesting time as well, because it's making you realize that you do need to spend a little bit more time when it comes to your emotions and aligning your physical motivations with how you're feeling and your home and your family goals, because the Sun rules your 4th house. There can be stuff coming up revolving around celebrations, parties with friends. There can be an opportunity to have friends in the home. There may be a sense of you longing for more social connection and wanting to kind of meet new people. On the 3rd through the 6th, the 5th through the 6th, you're going to see Mercury in Aquarius square the nodes. And that's going to materialize as needing to have conversations seriously about future goals. So Mercury, once again, ruling your 2nd house and your 5th house, is like, you know, having a conversation about money, resources, a creative project, being self-employed, or in regards to children. So that's something else that can happen. Then you're going to see Mars and Venus come together in Aquarius. So you can be working very closely with a partner, with a spouse, with a collaborator in some capacity in regards to your career. It's different, it's new, it's futuristic, it's unique. It can give you more freedom. It can help you move towards the freedom that you're looking for. And it can get you really kind of incentivized when it comes to making your dreams a reality. And it can also give you the opportunity to work with people in different places. On the 19th of the month, Venus will square Uranus. And this is important to watch because you're a Venus-ruled chart. So Venus is going to be moving through Aquarius in your 10th house. It's going to come into a square with Uranus in your sign. It can bring about some friction that you're having with another person. It can mean that there's some frustration with the creative expression. You're not always feeling aligned when it comes to the money or the resources. You may be seen as somebody who's a little bit difficult to deal with. Be mindful that, you know, because this square is the 10th to the 1st, you're not going to want to take orders from somebody. You're not going to deal well with somebody telling you what to do or how to kind of arrange your creative vision. So try to play nicely around this time, because likely it's going to be you getting triggered by somebody, and you can be quite reactionary and kind of feel like you need independence and kind of take it personally. Also, you don't want to be overworking yourself to the point where you're experiencing emotional exhaustion, and you can have like your nervous system that's really kind of wound up. On the 20th of the month, you're going to see Mercury come into conjunction with Pisces. So this is once again bringing good news, financial news. Maybe there's a collaboration with a friend. Somebody gives you a chance opportunity to work together, do business together, and they're wanting you to collaborate, or they want to promote you in some capacity. So look for that through friends. It can also be happening on social platforms. You can make a connection that can be really prominent, and you can get lots of good advice or give lots of good advice to a friend. On the 22nd of the month, you're going to see Mars in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. So Mars is going to be in your 10th house. That's the ruler of your 7th and also your 12th. So a partner can be working really hard behind the scenes and trying to get stuff done. They might feel kind of stressed out. They may not be talking to you about their exhaustion or their frustrations in general. And it'll square off with Uranus in your sign. So through their frustration or their blow-ups or their kind of Mars energy, they can be a little bit more agitated or angry than usual. It can materialize as you being set off, so you really want to watch out. You're very reactionary with people in the workspace, you know, this month. If you're not somebody who's having more freedom in regards to your career, some of these events can materialize as you kind of hitting a boiling point where you're like, that's it, I'm done. I'm gonna go my own way. That's going to be happening really throughout the year. That's not going to change anytime soon. But it is teaching you, because all these planets are in Aquarius in your 10th house, how to play nice and work with other people. And I think if you're in a situation where everybody's tasks are delegated well, and you're not feeling like you have to handhold other people or carry the team, and you can just do your thing and other people do theirs, then you can actually find that you can make magic happen. On the 28th of the month, you are going to see that Venus is going to conjunct Saturn in your 10th house, and this is committing seriously to a goal or a plan, and that is going to be very important because Saturn does traditionally rule your 10th house, but it also rules your 9th. So this can be something involving teaching, traveling, educating, something in regards to the bigger picture. So if there's like a plan that you're making to like move, or you're committing more seriously to somebody or a project or a job, or a woman, that can be something that happens because Venus can sometimes be a woman. But Venus conjunctions are important because it's about kind of like almost pouring the cement for some kind of commitment for the future. So you're going to be committing to something in some capacity. Likely the friction that you're experiencing earlier in the month is leading up to this point where you realize that you really are able to make a commitment of sorts. And then on the 30th of the month, Venus is going to come into a square with the nodes. Now, Venus is moving still through your 10th house. It's going to square the North Node in your 1st and the South Node in your 7th. And so this to me makes me feel like you're taking more of like a stance when it comes to authority, and being really direct possibly with a partner and being like, this is what I need, it's this or nothing. There can be a feeling of like an ultimatum that's coming, especially because Venus does rule your chart, and Venus also does rule Libra, so that's the ruler of your 6th. That makes me feel like with that square the nodes that you guys are committing to a schedule or a timeline, or you guys are committing to a way that you're going to actually execute getting something done. But being that it's happening in your 10th house and it's squaring your money houses, it can also be about, okay, this is what we do financially now, here's the goal, this is where we're going, this is how we organize things. So really pay attention for that, especially because it's going to be big in regards to relational type stuff, and you're going to have to find a middle ground with you and a partnership when it comes to the future. So there can be situations where it's like somebody wants a timeline when it comes to launching a project, somebody wants a timeline when it comes to getting married or having children, or just relating commitments in general. Let's see what the cards say for you. So the card that I get is 5 of Wands, conflict. Conflict and disagreements, tension, clash of egos, competition, obstacles, challenges. This is very much on par with kind of what I'm seeing with the astrology. So really the key here, especially when you're dealing with other people, is you want to keep reminding yourself you're on the same team. You're on the same team. A lot of this is relational for you. You're seeing lots of aspects to your 7th house Lord. And it's really bringing up over and over again, 7th and 6th, excuse me, how you're relating to other people in the workplace and whether or not it's a healthy work dynamic. And there can be definitely a sense of ego issues because of the squares to Uranus in your sign. So you want freedom and you want other people to just get the show on the road so that way you can kind of get your job done. But it's not just about your freedom. Other people are also adapting to that. So they have to kind of find their firm footing in situations at work as well. So it's about choosing not to have conflict and reminding yourself that you're on the same team, because when this card is reversed, it's about harmony. So harmony can be found, but to me it looks like the month ahead there's going to be some real definitive moments where you're going to ask yourself, can I stay in this working partnership? Can I stay in this relationship? Is this something that's really going to work? And I would encourage you to be a team player and try to avoid this conflict, because you know, relationships aren't all easy, right? Sometimes conflict happens in order to help us kind of hash things out and really get to the bottom of situations, so that way we can create change. And all of the fixed signs are getting hit very hardly with some of these squares. So it's not just you, Taurus, it's going to be the other fixed signs as well. So hang in there. Now we have Gemini and Gemini rising. Gemini, welcome to March. The month starts off with Mercury in a conjunction to Saturn. This is important because you're Mercury based. So Mercury is about information, commitments, contracts, business, organization. And this is happening in your 9th house. So that tells me that there's some commitment happening revolving around your beliefs. You have to believe in something. Thankfully, this is a sister sign, so it's going to make positive aspects to your planets or your placements that you have in Gemini. It will be making trines, so your beliefs are changing. Maybe you're believing in yourself more. Maybe you have a newfound belief. Maybe you're committing to a new belief program. For Gemini risings especially, this is the case. You might find yourself committing to travel or committing to a new kind of change in how you think, right? So there's something about like, you know, where spirituality meets science. That's how I think of Aquarius in your 9th. It can be a wonderful time to like take up yoga, study philosophy, study astrology, anything in regards to really expanding the mind and the belief system, but it has to have a much more kind of factual, almost borderline scientific connection to it in order for you to really move forward. Now, the 9th house can be about committing to a new program, education, travel, plans, teaching, publishing, and law. So any of these things can be coming up for you right now. So if you have to commit to any of these topics, this is a good time to do it. Mars, Venus, and Pluto are all going to align on the 3rd of the month, and that is going to be taking place in your 8th house of joint resources. Gemini, and prepare, because to me it seems like between the energies in your 8th house and all the placements in Pisces in your 10th, this is going to materialize as you having to put your head together in regards to a joint financial situation. Maybe you're working hard to meet a tax deadline. Maybe you're really trying hard to save money or pay taxes off. Maybe you're anticipating a bonus or an inheritance. Maybe your partner is going through a huge change and transformation when it comes to their resources. Regardless, this can bring up lots of fear and trauma and issues revolving intimacy and scarcity and problems from the past. So I want you to really pay attention for that. There can be lots of opportunities for breakthroughs and spiritual healing. Equally, the 8th house doesn't just deal with transformation, it can deal with death. So some of you can either be experiencing a loss or a death in some capacity, or a change that feels like you're grieving or you're losing something. But wealth is often found in the 8th house. So I think with Venus and Pluto showing up with Mars, it's kind of interesting because it makes me feel like you become really aware of what your goals are and what you want to bring in, and you start realizing your value, and perhaps maybe you start asking or expecting more. Watch out for issues revolving around wills, estates, insurances, things like that can also be coming up that are kind of hitting a peak early in the month. Then on the 3rd of the month, excuse me, the 5th of the month, we're going to see the sun come into conjunction with Jupiter in your 10th house of career. So what a lucky day for you, Gemini. Such a great day for exposure. It's a great day to post something, launch something, share something with the world. Perhaps maybe there is a new job in the works for you. Perhaps maybe you're traveling for work. You find out that you receive a new title, that you get a bonus, that you get a raise, and that you're just rising to the top of whatever it is that you're doing professionally, and there's lots of visibility on you. So definitely going to be an amazing day. Also on the 13th, you're going to see the sun come into conjunction with Neptune. So that can be a day also where you're really brainstorming and getting super visual about your plans for the future. Work with lots of vision boards, screens, sharing things, ideas, art, visually. It's very, very important. in your horoscope, because Leo deals very much with being able to communicate and share, you might find it easier to get the point across through creating like a visual presentation or a slideshow or like a keynote. So that way you can kind of share what you've been working on and envisioning, especially if it's more difficult for you to share information. If you are, for whatever reason, feeling tired, run down, or under the weather, you may find that you're in a situation that you're still able to kind of have the show go on. Maybe you're just doing your demonstration remotely or from home in some capacity. Maybe because you're seeing all these positive changes in your career, you get excited and you're like, I'm going to book a trip or I'm going to buy a new car. So something like that can be coming up for you as well. Or a new laptop, a gadget maybe. Then on the 5th through the 6th of the month, Mercury will square the nodes. Now this is important because Mercury is your chart ruler. It's about how you think and relay information, how you communicate. So when it squares the nodes, you're going to feel it. You have to really step up and say what you have to say. Now it's happening for you in your 9th house, which is about your beliefs. It's also going to be perhaps about making a decision to initiate some kind of a relationship with somebody at a distance, a business relationship, a working relationship, a faraway move, perhaps maybe even some travel in some capacity. But thankfully it's going to be positive aspects to whatever you have in Gemini. So I feel like you can be seen as somebody who is a bit of like a teacher, a philosopher, a mentor. You might give a very passionate demonstration or speech. You might be somebody who is teaching or educating other people or inspiring other people. And if there is a day that you need to sign anything legally, commit to something, make a decision when it comes to relationships even, this can be a wonderful day for you to do it. And it might be a period of time where you are considering advertising something or maybe publishing or writing something. So that's another thing that can kind of come about from that Mercury square. Speak up, have the conversation, be brave. Now on the 6th, Mars and Venus enter into the same place. So it's really cool because it's going to give you the opportunity to get really passionate about whatever it is that you're doing in a 9th house capacity. So if you're planning a trip with your partner, maybe you surprise them and you're like, I got a raise, we're going to the Bahamas. It can be something like looking for love at a distance also. So if you're a Gemini that's single, you might find that you're meeting somebody, but they're culturally different or diverse. Maybe you meet them in another country or another city. You meet them at an airport. Love and passion can be found abroad, so be aware of that. You might just be getting really passionate about your beliefs and what you're learning and what you're working on. And all of the air signs are really going to thrive, I think, with all this Aquarius energy because it's carrying into their own personal signs. So it's going to require you guys to communicate, share a lot more, move around a lot more. So you might just notice that there's just a little bit more mobility or activity this month than usual. On the 19th of the month, Venus will square Uranus, and that is going to be happening in your 9th house to your 12th. So like I said, love can be found abroad. It can be elsewhere. I think that's really how this square is manifesting. If you're somebody who's like, I just need to go on a break. I need a break. I need to go on a retreat. You might meet somebody. The 9th to the 12th does remind you, though, to be mindful that there can be almost like secret kind of emotional connections because it's squaring Uranus in the 12th. It can be something revolving around somebody that you're talking to, and then it's not exactly kosher, so you or they may not be available. It can also be talking about just learning more about spirituality and esoteric topics. So the 9th house and the 12th house are known for that. It might be that you're planning on going somewhere so you can do some kind of training or filming or retreat work or spiritual work in some capacity. And it's more like devotional stuff that you're doing. So that's another way that this can play out. On the 20th of the month, you are going to see that Mercury is going to come into a conjunction with Jupiter and Pisces. So more good news when it comes to your career. In fact, this is probably one of the better days because Mercury is your chart ruler and you see Jupiter, your 10th house, and also your 7th house lord come into conjunction. Maybe you're announcing some big merger. Maybe you're announcing that you're engaged, getting married, launching a new business, taking a new title. Maybe you're proposing. Maybe you are showing the world somebody who you're in love with or a project that you have worked really hard on. This is going to be an excellent day for you, so really watch for those energies to manifest. It's probably going to be the best for you and for Virgo. When we see conjunctions to Jupiter, especially if it involves your chart ruler, it's almost like going to be a triple manifestation. So some of your manifestations, what you're thinking, what you're saying, are literally going to come about very quickly, and you might feel like it's almost too good to be true. So it's important to keep those vibes up, be thinking positive, and reminding yourself that everything is coming together. On the 22nd of the month, Mars in Aquarius will square Uranus in Taurus. And this is going to be happening once again from your 9th to your 12th house. So I want you just to be aware that once again, something revolving around like friends, possible romantic partners at a distance, some kind of possible conflict revolving around that. If there's something that's not totally clear there, there can be some unexpected kind of conflicts in regards to 9th house matters. Things like unexpected issues with travel, unexpected legal issues, kind of bumps in the road when it comes to conflicts and fights of sorts. That's very Mars. But when Mars squares Uranus, because in your chart, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, it's like you're having a hard time maybe applying and like really keeping the belief. And so you need to kind of fall back on the 9th house, and you need like a routine belief system to be working with to kind of help you keep things moving forward in a positive direction, right? On the 28th of the month, you're going to see Venus come into conjunction with Saturn. Now that's happening for you in your natal 8th house. Your 9th house. So that's going to materialize as probably something that's going to be a much more serious commitment to your belief system then. The 9th house can be the house of matrimony, so it can also be that you're going back and forth in a relationship and somebody really wants to set the date for when you get married. It can also be that you're going back and forth on a project, and when you release it and you're having to work with a company or somebody who's going to promote it and they need a release date. So it can materialize as you having to commit more seriously to some kind of release date. That's another way that can kind of play out. And then on the 30th, then you will see that Venus in your 9th house will square the nodes, and that's going to be between the North node, which is in your 12th, and the South node, which is in your 6th. This tells me that timing is everything. It's really important to be aware of timing, you know, when it comes to traveling, launching projects, working on things. It's very important because there can be some upsets in that regard. Because Venus rules your natal 12th house, and it's coming into a square with the nodes. It's telling me that you're moving more in the direction of letting go old, outdated partners, you know, or partnerships or partnership issues, health problems, things like that. A lot of Geminis may benefit from doing some kind of internal healing or detoxing, or if you need to go to a retreat, it can be really beneficial, especially if you're trying to kick a habit. So that's something else that you can do. And I think when you see Venus square the nodes, it's really going to be reinforcing in a lot of ways. Also, not just your 12th house, which can represent where you're hiding away from love or security or commitment, but also Libra. And so Libra in your chart is technically the ruler of the 5th house. And so it can be where there's childhood issues that are cropping up, keeping you from committing, childhood trauma cropping up, keeping you from wanting to have children. But you really want to watch out for weirdness and secretiveness in relationships and possibly infidelity. So obviously that's going to be on a case-by-case basis, but there can be some things that can be really hidden this month that come to light that either you or somebody else is not aware that's been going on. So let's see what the cards have to say for you, Gemini. So the card that I get for you is the Page of Pentacles. Super positive. I think that with this coming up, you know, it makes me feel like there is a new manifestation. There's a new goal that's in mind. Maybe you're feeling more ambitious. Maybe you're feeling more excited. It's about being more consistent, loyal, planning, investing your time or your energy in something. It can be messages in regards to resources, money. So that's something else that can be coming up for you. I also get the impression that this can be talking about like a younger earth sign that comes into your life in some capacity and wants to help you or work with you in some way, or maybe they want to offer you some kind of assistance. And it's just about you being more grounded and more ambitious. So really focus on that in the month ahead. Now we have Cancer and Cancer rising. Welcome to March 2022. The month kicks off on the 2nd, and that is going to be Mercury coming into a conjunction with Saturn in your 8th house of joint resources. So it looks to me like you got to have a serious conversation. either with a friend about money and resources and spending, or possibly having a conversation with your partner about having more freedom or making changes or kind of upgrades when it comes to resources. It can be things like getting joint accounts, separating accounts, having serious conversations about budgeting and spending, anxiety revolving around payments and kind of getting ahead of situations. The 8th house can also be debt, so it can be going back and forth and coming up with a plan to tackle debt. Now, Mercury rules your natal 12th house, Cancer, so there can be all of this stuff that comes up suddenly where you're having to kind of really talk about fears or issues also in intimacy. So that can be another thing that plays out during this conjunction. On the 3rd, you're going to see Mars, Venus, and Pluto come into conjunction with each other in the sign of Capricorn. Cancer and Cancer rising, this is a time to really pay attention, okay? Because this is kind of the finale, the fireworks of whatever has been going on in relationships, whether it's a job relationship with a boss or if it's a relationship that you have that's romantic. This is probably the make or break moment when it comes to where this is going to fall. Now, Venus has been retrograde in your house of relationships, so has Mercury. So whatever issues or hangups have kind of already been on the wall, especially for the better part of like the last 3 months. So now that Mars and Venus are coming together, it's going to be decisions that you're making about your home and also your future and whether they can change and upgrade and evolve with the conjunction to Pluto, or whether or not it's kind of dead in the water. Pluto can represent that because Pluto is the ruler of the 5th house. It can also bring up issues revolving around relationships and passion, if there's not enough passion or not enough sex, or if there's make or break moments because of children, whether or not somebody's treating your children well, or whether or not they want children, or whether or not you're still in love with each other. There can be some rather turbulent things coming from this conjunction. Whatever happens, I really recommend paying attention because you really want to let the chips fall where they may. And if you have found yourself resisting ending a relationship or resisting quitting a job or resisting hashing something out with somebody, if it's been also resisting getting over heartbreak and letting go of the past, it's all going to come up at this time. It can be a time where it's great to finally let go because of the energies of Mars and Pluto, which can be about severing. Then what we're going to see is on the 5th and the 13th. So first on the 5th, the Sun will come into conjunction with Jupiter. That's in the 9th house, so it's spiritual renewal. Maybe you decide that you're like, okay, I'm super stressed out. I'm going to book a trip. I'm going away. Maybe it's going to be about you making a shift and a decision where you're investing more in your future. You may have to spend a little money to take a course or get a certification or publish something, but that may be your dream that you're like, that's the goal. That's the direction I'm going in. It is aligning your 2nd house Lord, which is the Sun, with Jupiter, and Jupiter does rule your natal your natal 6th house, which is about healing and taking a break. So maybe because of everything that's been going on, you're like, I just need to get a break away for a little bit, and I'm willing to, spend to be able to do that. Then on the 13th, you're going to see the Sun conjunct Neptune. So be mindful that taking off too much time for work or checking out can actually have a more challenging effect in your resources if you just check out and if you do it in an irresponsible manner, or like, let's say there isn't people to cover your shift or anything like that, it can have repercussions financially. Sometimes Sun-Neptune conjunctions can be avoiding things, and I feel like because you're really looking for faith, or you're looking for a new belief, or you're looking to get away from it all, there can be a sense of you really enjoying the peace of mind of just being alone, or just being in a remote area, or just going and being away from home and away from work, just so you can get your head straight. On the flip side, that can be a solution that you have with a partner to kind of smooth things over if there has been some tumultuousness, because it is making sextiles to Capricorn. Then on the 5th through the 6th, you're going to see Mercury square the nodes in Aquarius, and Mars and Venus enter Aquarius. So this is kind of reinforcing what I was saying. That's like, there can be a sense of you being like, I don't care what it costs, let's just get away from it all. But then you start to kind of realize that maybe you don't have the money or the budget to be able to really take the time off or go on the trip that you would like, or take the course that you would like, or what have you. Somehow there needs to be some real serious conversations and discussions about joint resources, about intimacy, about security. If you feel like you're not getting enough support, if you have been feeling like there has been delays in loans, banking, credit cards, paying things off, receiving benefits in some capacity, if a partner hasn't been paying you your child support, spousal support, or if you have not gotten benefits that you were owed, it's a really important time to pay attention. Because I do get the impression that now you're going to start, kind of feeling the money crunch, and you might really need to talk to a partner about that. And anxiety can bubble to the point where it's like you have to have those conversations. But Mars and Venus moving together is interesting because it is highlighting your 4th and your 10th house Lord, along with your 5th house Lord. So it can be about talking to a partner and getting really passionate about starting something and getting some kind of investment going. Maybe somebody wants to sponsor you, or they want to invest in the idea, and you're talking about doing it together, but you have to come up with a financial plan to do so. In the 8th house, it can be really sexy and really passionate. So it can be a time where there's lots of opportunities to merge sexually with another person. It can feel new and fresh and fun and experimental. Friendships can become more sexual, but on the flip side, you can also find situations come up that are about fear, paranoia, jealousy, anything in regards to security, because it is going to make squares and aspects to Uranus later in the month. So you want to be careful when you're dealing with like friendships versus sexual relationships. Like a lot of you guys are, if you've been in situationships or you've kind of had very loose titles when it comes to who you're in a relationship with and not defining it, that's going to become increasingly more difficult with the squares that you're going to be seeing to the nodes and also to Uranus. So be mindful of that. No more friends with benefits type stuff, And then on the let's see, on the 19th, we're going to see Venus square Uranus. So that's kind of disrupting things in regards to maybe the peace in the home. Maybe there's a situation where, family is experiencing a loss or a transition or a death of some kind, or they're going through some kind of stress. A woman's going through some kind of stress with some change in regards to her home life. It can be a parent, so that's possible. But it's going to square Uranus in the 11th, and that makes me feel like you want to watch out with resources and money and borrowing when it comes to friendships that can get kind of sticky financially because you're feeling tight. Make sure that everything's kosher if you do decide to do something like that. And I also feel like that there can be lots of sometimes like bad habits, whether it's like sexual or addiction issues, things like that can also come up from these squares. And you can be feeling like you're kind of hiding, dealing with some of these emotional, psychological, or just bad habits, and it's affecting a friendship in some capacity. Now, on the 20th of the month, you're going to see Mercury come into conjunction with Pisces. For you, that's going to be taking place in your natal 9th house, so it's a sister sign. And that can be a time where you receive some insight. You get a reading, maybe. I think a lot of Cancers are going to be seeking that. Or just seeking somebody who can give them answers or give them direction or give them clarity and explaining to them or helping them kind of find the faith. That can be a time that can be very introspective and can give you the ability to really reflect on your goals and the direction that you're going in and ask yourself if everything really feels in alignment. Mercury conjunct Jupiter is good news, so that may be a time where you have the breakthrough and then you actually go on the trip. It can be a time where you book the trip. It can be good news when it comes to travel in general, law, legality, but also anything in regards to publishing or advertising. So if you're wanting to start teaching something or promoting something or sharing something, that's a good day to do it. On the 22nd, you're going to see Mars in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. So we're seeing the reoccurrence again of now Mars in your 8th house coming into a square with the 11th. So some kind of conflict is what I'm seeing once again, possibly between a group of friends or something that can kind of play out dramatically on social media. And it can be some kind of exposure of behavior. So you want to watch out because like truth can be kind of seen somehow that was secretive, that's like revealed more so on social media or through friends kind of being more honest about frustrations in some capacity. And I think with Mars, which is, your 5th house Lord, going into Your 8th, it's going to have you really passionate about being creative and like wanting to do that in any way, shape, or form. So you can also just get really adamant about your goals when it comes to romance, finding love, and having that security. But still, it's going to bring up possibly some strife around the 22nd in regards to anything complex involving a difference of opinion with resources or love when it comes to friends or groups in some way. And if you are partnered, there can be a little bit of a friction with a partner in regards to that. On the 28th of the month, Venus is going to conjunct Saturn. So this is going to be something to really watch because this is, once again, happening for you in your natal 8th house. So what this means is that you have to commit to some kind of budget, commit to some kind of sexual relationship, commit to some kind of boundary. Perhaps maybe you're committing more seriously, going, that's it, you know, if I can't feel safe with this person, I have to let him go. Or committing to celibacy, committing to not sharing resources or joining resources. In some cases, that can be a situation where you're cut off financially in some way. So because Venus rules in your chart your 4th house of family, it also rules Taurus, which is going to be lighting up your 3rd house of communication. There can be something where it's like a family member basically says to you, like, that's it, I'm done. You know, I don't want to talk to you anymore, or we're not working together anymore. It can be that a partner says to you, you know, I'm not giving you support anymore. I'm removing you from an account. Be very careful, pay attention to this, because there can be some really difficult lessons that can come from this conjunction for you. And it definitely does deal with the resources of other people, okay? Then on the 30th of the month, Venus will square the nodes. So watching Venus come into a square with the nodes might feel like a pivotal moment where you have to come up with money or resources, or that you're having to figure out how to fund a living situation, or you're having to figure out how to keep the money flowing when it comes to a joint partnership, or even paying the bills at home. And I think with this square, it's really reminding you that you benefit from focusing more on love and harmony, and really applying that and communicating sweetly with people and communicating kindly and asking for assistance in positive ways rather than being confrontational. I think watching, you know, Venus wrap up after we've seen, you know, squares to Uranus and Mars square Uranus, that in the end, for all of the 12 signs, it does end in a more peaceful, harmonious way, but we have to apply more Venus. We have to apply more love. So it's reminding you that, you know, interacting with people more sweetly and kindly, and also loving yourself, protecting your boundaries, protecting your resources. And other people can tell you that too. Like, you might hear this month, I'm doing this because I love you. And you're going to be like, what? But I think it's a lot of people just reassessing their boundaries, and it's going to be how you respond to that. And in some ways, if you're cut off, whether that's emotionally, financially, or what have you, even though it's stressful, it might be something that's good for you, because it's going to disconnect from an energy that is either toxic, or it's limiting you, or it's not really giving you freedom, or it's not really allowing you to live a life of experiencing and being able to share love or peace, you know? So I know that's difficult, Cancer. Let's see what the cards say for you. Everybody's getting it this month. Everybody's getting it this month. The card that you get is the Lovers. So passionate is definitely an understatement. Divine love, spiritual connection, soul connection, choice, harmony, relationships, value, balance, romance, union. So this is a positive card, by the way. And this is a card that also can be about Mercury, especially Mercury in Gemini. So if you have any particular placements in Gemini, look for the trines from Mercury's move through Aquarius. It can be that these important conversations about being like, hey, I really love you, come up during the Mercury square the nodes, or even the Venus conjunct Saturn. I feel like in the end, there is an opportunity for balance and unity and being able to find peace. But I also feel like if it's not with the person that you're with, it's clearing that out so you can find that and be able to unite with the person who is going to be a vibrational match. So it's going to fall under one of two ways. It's going to be people fall away from people who are holding them back from that. It's going to also be that people can go deeper in current relationships and be able to kind of upgrade so they can have that divine partnership and relationship that they're seeking. So realize that a lot of this energy this month deals with other people because it's in both your 7th and your 8th houses. So it's about you and your relationship to others, how they behave in the relationship, how they treat you, 7th house, and also it's going to be about 8th house, which is going to be their values, their security, their money, their resources. So depending on how that lands, you're going to have to make a decision about whether or not this is going to be the right partnership or whether or not you can stay in this dynamic and if it makes sense to actually reach for more, because regardless, you're going to get what you want in the end. Now we've got Leo and Leo rising. Welcome to March of 2022. The month kicks off on the 2nd with Mercury conjunct Saturn. So that's a serious conversation you're having to have with a partner. It's in your 7th house of relationships. Lots of energy, Leo. You have, like Taurus and Scorpio and also Aquarius, you have been experiencing a lot when it comes to relationships and probably kind of feeling like under the gun in a lot of ways and being pressured in several different areas of your life because you're experiencing the square. So I feel for you, sending you lots of good vibes, hang in there. But now we're done having a Mercury retrograde in your 7th of relationships where you've been assessing relationships and whether or not they're working. And now that you're having a Saturn-Mercury conjunction in your 7th, serious conversations about relationships moving forward need to begin. And it can be about a partner basically needing a decision, needing an answer, making a commitment, requesting a commitment. And Saturn and Mercury coming together is probably going to be a boundary or an ultimatum and then telling you what they can or cannot do. On the 3rd of the month, Mars, Venus, and Pluto all come into conjunction, and that's going to be in your 6th house. So this is about possibly dealing with overcoming some crisis in relation to your diet, your health, your lifestyle, maybe having a little bit of conflict with your schedule and getting your schedule in order. Maybe you've been feeling like it's just been really intense being in the workplace, working with some people. Maybe you're finally making big changes when it comes to your patterns and your lifestyle and your habits, and you're breaking through things and you're learning to let things go. There can be a sense of really wanting to strong arm and control, though, your schedule. And what I would say is just do the best that you can. And remember that if things, for whatever reason this month, get a little haywire in your relationships, you can't fall back on bad behavior. You can't fall back on bad habits. You can't allow it to disrupt your schedule. So you need to kind of stay the course with finding that balance and consistency with your schedule. Next, we are going to see on the 5th of the month, Sun is going to conjunct Jupiter, and that is going to be in your natal 8th house. So spiritual, sexual, emotional renewal. It can be a time where you're focusing a lot more on healing. It can be a time when you're focusing a lot more on bringing more in benefits in some capacity. You can bring in an opportunity to see more resources, more money. It can be really positive for you because your chart is ruled by the sun. So you can find that you can get a bonus, you can get a really nice gift, somebody can give you something. It can be a sense of like feeling more secure in a financial or in a sexual relationship. Then on the 13th of the month, the sun will conjunct Neptune. So then it's going to be like, okay, but is it still there? Or when is it coming? Or when do I receive it? It can be an opportunity to go deeper into some kind of spiritual or sexual healing. Neptune does rule the 8th house. You want to be really careful with transactions this month. I think with the conjunctions happening between Jupiter, it's almost like it can be too good to be true. And then when you see conjunctions to Neptune, it's like, okay, but where is it? Are they actually coming through? Are they actually going to give me what they told me they were going to give me? Has it gone missing in some capacity? Pay attention to your finances and resources. Make sure you're checking those bank statements, making sure that everything's safe, that everything's kosher, that things have not gotten into. Sometimes with these conjunctions, I can see that you'll make a large deposit into an account, and then sometimes there can be some issues or some problems with there being some like cyber security issues. So that's another thing that can kind of manifest. All right, so then on the 19th of the month, we see Venus come into a square with Uranus. Excuse me, let me go back. Then on the 5th and the 6th of the month, we're going to see Mercury square the nodes. So That is going to be taking place in your 7th house. So you're going to see Mercury square the nodes, which is going to be another kind of conversation you're going to have with a partner that can fall one way or another, needing to communicate, needing to learn to communicate. A partner might be really trying to get a hold of you or saying, we need to talk, we need to have a sit down, you know, we need to hash this out. And they're really adamant about that. And then when Mars and Venus move in, they're going to get super passionate. So I guess the good news is that those of you guys who are single, you might be finding that there's just a lot more opportunity to connect with people, and that people are actually really interested in talking to you, socializing, spending time with you, working and collaborating with you in some capacity. It can be friends too. It doesn't have to be romantic because it is Aquarius. It might just be that you're focusing more on, you know, establishing friendships rather than romantic relationships. And if something comes from it, great. And the other thing I would say is, when Mars and Venus show up, you know, it can be really passionate. So it can be that somebody's just really passionately wanting to talk to you, wanting to get a hold of you, wanting to smooth things over, wanting to make things work. You might feel a little overwhelmed with just how much somebody can be kind of pursuing you or coming at you in some way. So be mindful for that. That's the kind of happening between the 5th and the 6th this month. Then on the 19th, Venus will square the nodes. Venus will square Uranus. Venus won't square the nodes later to the month. Venus will square Uranus on the 19th. So that's going to also be happening for you in your 7th house, and it's going to be squaring Uranus in the 10th. So to me, it seems like it can be about relating to somebody at work and whether or not, you know, you're getting along well with them, if you're partnering well with them. It can be a situation where a partner is really putting the pressure on you and kind of saying to you, you know, what are we doing? Where are we going? What's the future? You know, do you want this or do you not? There can also be pressure revolving around like actually making a relationship official or making a relationship public. And they can basically be like, well, can I tell my friends we're together? Can I post stuff on social media? Are we together? Are we not? And it can feel a little aggressive because it's creating some squares both to your planets in Leo, but also to transiting Uranus in the 10th house and the South Node in the 4th. So it's like, oh my goodness, you know, this whole month is about you learning how to relate to people and participating in relationships. And there can be some people who are pushing just a little bit too hard for you, or you feeling like maybe you're the one pushing and putting a lot of energy and emphasis, and sometimes you won't get the response that you really like. Regardless, just take your time, be patient, realize that we're having to learn, at least in your chart, how to relate to both romantic partners and also professional partners differently. And these can be the squares that bring about serious conversations that lead you more in the direction in relationships to long-term commitment, if that's really what you want. Then we are going to see on the 20th, Mercury will conjunct Jupiter in Pisces, and that's happening in your 8th house. That is possibly good financial news, maybe getting a letter, a message, an email, a check in the mail, something showing up revolving around benefits, a tax payout, a settlement, possibly even an insurance kind of settlement in some capacity. So good news in regards to resources or even investments. So that's a really positive transit to be having. Then we're going to see on the 22nd of the month, Mars in Aquarius will square off with Uranus. So this is when relationships kind of take a turn and they get a little bit more intense. And I think with Mars, which is your natal ruler of the 9th and also the 4th house, maybe there's a partner who's really pushing you and talking about, well, you know, do we want to move in together? Are we moving? Am I moving? You know, are you interested in, you know, collaborating? Do I come to you? Do you come to me? You know, is a marriage or commitment in our future? Do you want the same things that I want? And they can seem a little aggressive because it's going to be making all of the squares that it's making. In some ways, whether it's partners or friends pushing you can be really good because it's pushing you out of your comfort zone and it's kind of giving you that incentive to actually show up or cut people off. On the flip side, I think with the square to Uranus in your 10th can also materialize as things like, I can't show up for this right now. I'm really focusing on my career. You know, from some people's perspective, you can be either way too career oriented or way too relationship oriented. It depends on other aspects in your chart. But it's very important for you to focus on being able to, I think, really sharing your feelings and finding ways to communicate and express and work together through this period of time. I think that you're going to keep getting this lesson all year long, and you may still find yourself in July and August kind of going back and forth with a relationship. So if you need to take a step back, if something's a little bit too heated, it's okay to do that, okay? Then we've got on the 28th, Venus is going to conjunct Saturn. So that can be a nice kind of like relief. It can feel like the peace is being kept and somebody's making the commitment, and after the conflict they're like, okay, I'm gonna calm down, or you know, I'm ready and this is how I really feel after there's been some like erraticness in some capacity. Venus Saturn can be great in the 7th house for commitments, and it's like, yes, I do want to get married. Yes, I do want to be in a relationship. Yes, I do want to do these things. But it can also be a make or break moment where if values are not in alignment, especially because Venus is still going to square the nodes on the 30th, then it might be a totally different ball game. Something that I want you to think about is because Venus rules your 10th house, which is about you know, your public status, and because Venus also rules your 3rd house of communication, it needs to be a situation where somebody is communicating and saying to you, yes, I want to be in a public relationship, or yes, I see us having a future, or yes, I am interested in getting married. If you're not seeing those things, or if you're not agreeing to those things, that can definitely be a make or break moment in a partnership or a relationship, and can lead to making decisions about not communicating, cutting somebody off, not following them on social media anymore, and finally kind of burying the hatchet and moving forward. You will have the ability to look this over again, both in May and also in July going into August. So this isn't the end of the storyline. It just might be a little bit too much for you right now, especially if you're very focused on your career goals. Relationships kind of need to feel like they get in line. Otherwise, if they don't, and if they're not on the same page as you in terms of your goals, where you're going with your life or your career, then you may need to take a step back, okay? So let's take a look at what the cards say for you. And I get the 9 of Wands. Positive card. It's about overcoming situations, so that's good. Perseverance, resilience, testing of faith, the final push, boundaries, the last stand, grit, close to success, and fatigue. So it's like, I'm sick of going back and forth with you over this. Something's got to change. And it can be that final push. So it's like, if you've been in a back and forth situation with a relationship in this last year, this might be the final push to see if you can make it happen and salvage it. Otherwise, you might move on. Regardless, I see you coming out of this in a positive way. Like, this is a card that is about resilience, being able to overcome obstacles, and getting very close to success and being able to see it. And this might be kind of the final steps right before you have a breakthrough or a breakdown in a relationship. And this deals a lot also with energies connected to Sagittarius. So it can also be about, you know, travel philosophy factoring into this, that, you know, maybe you need more freedom and like you actually want somebody who wants to travel with you. So you want them to have much more of a focus on like their career and like growth in their career like you do. Maybe you want somebody who's a go-getter. So there's this sense of like you really pushing partners to kind of show up and like enjoy life and participate in life with you. Otherwise, you're going to be like, I'm out of here. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Leo. Now we've got Virgo and Virgo rising. The month kicks off with Mercury in a conjunction to Saturn, so that's important. On the 2nd of the month, you're going to see your chart ruler, Mercury, in conjunct to Saturn. So this is going to be happening in your 6th house, which deals with commitment to a new health routine, commitment when it comes to coworkers, and something in regards to your schedule. So it seems like you're really focused on maintaining a schedule or maintaining something in regards to health and wellness. And I would also say it's scheduling and like dealing with coworkers, because it also relates to your 10th house of career. So there may be a sense of a new schedule, a new software, adapting to something, and like being responsible in some capacity for a group of people. On the 3rd of the month, you're going to see Mars, Venus, and Pluto come into conjunction in Capricorn in your 5th house, which deals with love, dating, children, romance, creativity. So there's a breakthrough happening, a change. Maybe you're ready to get back into the dating game. Maybe you have finally let go of a childhood trauma. Maybe you've been working really hard through, you know, creative blocks. Maybe you're really passionate and falling in love again. There's lots of positive energy funneling actually from your 5th house of true love into your 7th house of commitment. So this is going to be a big month to watch when it comes to relationships. So you want to be super flexible with what's going on with these changes that you're making to your career, so you're ready to actually receive these blessings. Now, when all these come into conjunction, it can be very passionate. It can also be about big decisions being made in regards to dating, telling somebody you love them, having a breakthrough, or deciding that you want to have a child. On the 3rd of the month, the sun will come into conjunction with Jupiter, and this is in your 7th house of relationships. Possibly an old flame pops up. Possibly you meet somebody who lives in a different city, a different culture, or somebody from your hometown. It can be very lucky, like a chance meeting. It can also bring in like new counselors, a new astrologer, somebody new who's going to work with you and represent you in some capacity, especially if you're in the creative field. So if you need a partner, if you need somebody to guide you or represent you, that can show up. In a woman's chart, especially if you're a Virgo rising, really pay attention because this can be chance meetings happening this month for a very significant relationship that could materialize as being a future husband, because Jupiter is the husband. On the 13th of the month, you're actually going to see the sun conjunct Neptune. So it can also be about dreams of somebody, the person you've dreamed of. Maybe you have a dream about somebody and you see them in real life. Maybe it's about getting insight and a reading on your love life and talking to somebody about what they see in the future. It can be a time where you have a very mystical, magical kind of connection to somebody that's very otherworldly and something that you just didn't see coming. These people can be very spiritual, very creative, whimsical. They can be photographers, they can be sailors, they can be artists, poets, magicians, all of these fun Neptunian things. And you might be a little bit like, is this too good to be true? Can I trust them? Like there's something like that that's going on. So I would say pay attention for that because you're going to want to see how this plays out for like the next month or two before you really know. But the good news is that you're ready for love. On the 5th through the 6th, Mercury is going to square the nodes. So Mercury in Aquarius will square the nodes. This is important because it's your chart ruler. So it's almost like you have to make the upgrade to a software. You have to change your schedule. You have to commit to the gym membership. It's about information and sharing of information and upgrades. I think it especially at work, there's a lot of like trying to fit your schedule around your work schedule and having to talk to a lot of people at work, especially when it comes to new tech or installing stuff that's new. So it can be new computers and stuff like that. Mercury is really important because I think it's also basically suggesting like, hey, you need to have the conversations with work or whatever so that way you are communicating better with people, just because Mars and Venus are going there shortly after. So, you know, on the 6th, Mars and Venus move into Aquarius in your 6th house, and that's about some kind of change going on. Maybe you're integrating, going back to the office full time. Maybe you guys are going digital completely. Maybe there's going to be a complete, schedule change in some way, and you have to talk to a lot of people. That can be a time that's fun though for health. You might be like taking workout classes with friends. Maybe you're going to the gym with a friend. Maybe you're incorporating dance in some capacity into what you're doing, or just something that's more fun for your physical and recreational kind of routine. Love can be found in the workplace too, so pay attention to that. When Venus and Mars move there, it can be that you're meeting and working with a group of people, or you're just more in person again, and then you find somebody who catches your eye. On the 19th, Venus is going to square Uranus, so that is really kind of suggesting something about your schedule and your belief, or something about your health and your wellness and what you learn are kind of in friction. Maybe you're kind of filling out a new physical routine, seeing if it works for you, and you have to ask yourself, do I enjoy it? Do I love this? Maybe there is an opportunity to upgrade and learn something new and do some kind of training that you have to go away for, or maybe you're just trying to adapt and change your schedule to make time so that way you can travel in general. So if there's an interest in traveling or going somewhere, it's like you're trying to arrange your schedule to make it possible so you can do more of that. And that's the goal really for you by about the summer of this year. On the 20th, you're going to see your chart ruler, Mercury, come into conjunction with Jupiter and Pisces. Now, this is very important for Virgo and Virgo rising, because this is going to be happening in your 7th house of relationships. Maybe the person that you've been manifesting, maybe the person you've been hoping to have a date with, maybe the person you've been hoping to hear from finally calls you back, gets a hold of you, you guys talk, you make plans. It can also be a chance meeting or an occurrence at work. It seems like fated and very much like destiny is involved. This will be a triple manifestation for you, Virgo, so pay attention because it's your chart ruler meeting with Jupiter. So in the weeks ahead, you're going to see something really magical unfold about your love and romantic life in some capacity. So keep those vibes up, think positive, be meditating, and just working a lot on love and divine love and connection. On the 22nd of the month, you're going to see Mars square Uranus in Taurus. So Mars is in your 6th and it's squaring Uranus in your 9th. So that tells me that there's some kind of change that's uncomfortable that's coming up. Maybe you're more focused on something health related. Maybe you have to go somewhere else to handle a health situation. Maybe you're exploring surgical options or procedures in another place. Maybe you're actually going and looking at doctors that might be in different places or far away and getting second opinions. There can be a sense also of you having to crunch numbers and doing more regarding a budget and like really coming up with a budget and making sure that everything works, because Mars is your 8th house lord. Mars also rules your 3rd house, Scorpio. So it can be having conversations about what you're spending. It can be, you know, fixing a car and there being an unexpected situation with a car, something that you need to fix. And where your schedule is coming into friction with plans that you already made to either take a course or travel somewhere. So there can be some frustration this day. On the 28th of the month, Venus will conjunct Saturn, and that's going to be happening for you in your natal 6th house. So it'll be remedied. Something will kind of get, you know, fixed up, but it won't really take until closer to the end of the month. Now, Venus Saturn is health, so you're committing to a healthier routine. So maybe you've tried out new things, a new diet, a new workout, a new trainer, and you really decide closer to the end of the month if something works for you and if it actually feels good and if it makes sense for what you're investing into it, especially if it's something that's costly. So think like new foods, diets and stuff. Really wait until you get to the end of the month to see the results. Then on the 30th, Venus will square the nodes. So it's going to be, you know, is this a good investment or do I let it go? All of these energies in the 6th house also kind of reminds me of clearing out old relationships, because 6th house can be where relationships are cleared out and they die. So if none of this health or scheduling stuff relates to you, it can be like this back and forth, you know, working through, is it worth it? Is it not worth it in a relationship, before finally making a decision later in the month if you want to turn it loose and let it go and heal that. And if that does happen, don't worry, because you still have lots of positive transits this month, and more so even in April, that are going to go into your 7th house of relationships. So if you're still in the process of overcoming a breakup or letting something go, don't worry, there's still time. But this is the month that you really want to be present with that. All right, Virgo. So let's see what the cards say for you. I get the Fool. So this is about Uranus. It's about taking chances, you know, maybe making changes in your schedule, going on that trip, meeting that person, changing your beliefs, upgrading your spirituality, learning something new, taking a chance, right? New beginnings, innocence, originality, fearless, free spirit, fresh hope, taking chances, new path, and a leap of faith. Especially when it comes to traveling, I think, especially when it comes to traveling, especially when it comes to love, especially when it comes to your philosophy on these things, and just seeking new horizons and being a little bit more flexible and being willing to kind of find love in other places, or just really upgrading your belief system in general this month. Hopefully that's helpful. For Libra, Libra rising, Mercury is coming into a conjunction with Saturn, and that is going to be on the 2nd of March. That may manifest as your creative visions or a dream somehow helping you kind of navigate a 5th house topic. So maybe you've been meditating a lot on a creative project. Maybe you've been resting more. You've been having a lot of anxiety about a creative project, and a dream comes through that gives you more insight, and you kind of have a breakthrough, which really kind of inspires you and helps you really commit more so to something that you're working on. There can be some anxiety revolving around the idea of romance, children, whether or not you want these things, whether or not a child has been experiencing an illness or has been sick and is like needing to kind of recoup or recover. You can be a little bit in your head about your dating or your love life, and you can be feeling a little bit like lost or in the dark. But when the Mercury-Saturn conjunction happens, you want to commit more so to where you see your future going. That's really what I want you to focus on right now more than anything else. Just focus on what feels good, what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, even if you need to kind of take a step back and do things to promote more of that in general and just feeling inspired, okay? film and music can really help, especially because Mercury is the 12th house lord. Mercury also rules your 9th house, so it can also be about teaching and education and really breaking through fears revolving around even travel. On the 3rd of the month, you're going to see Mars, Venus, and Pluto conjunct in the sign of Capricorn, and that's in your 4th house. It's been several months of lots of digging and clearing in regards to your past, your family lineage, where you're living, domestic issues revolving around your family, and difficult discussions in regards to your domestic or your home zone. You've been having to put your head together with another person, so whether that's a partner, a romantic partner, a spouse, or a family member, in regards to some of these situations, and finally you're beginning to kind of clear and move through this and learn to let go of the past. So it seems like home renovation projects, domestic stuff, it's all wrapping up and it's all ramping up, and you might find yourself just doing a lot of work around the home, or just working like crazy from home in some capacity, or just doing a lot of emotional upheaval and changes, right? On the 5th of the month, the sun will come into conjunction with Jupiter. So that tells me that it's going to be a wonderful time for just a renewal when it comes to your routine. Maybe you're reading a new book about self-help or wellness. Maybe you're taking a yoga class. There's something that you're learning or reading or listening to that is about lifestyle and flow and what life should feel like, and being able to get into a state of your schedule where it feels healthier for you, at least spiritually or mentally, emotionally. On the 13th, you're going to see the sun come into conjunction with Neptune. Be mindful, this is a day you can feel under the weather. This is a day that you can be exhausted, tired, needing a break, feeling a little bit run down. So you might need a nap midday. It might be a good mental health day. It might be a day that's really best used for letting go of bad habits, especially Libra risings. You want to pay attention because so much of the karma is stored in your 6th house. You want to find balance. And so with Sun Neptune, we can lose our boundaries or kind of get out of balance with our equilibrium, and we can overdo things. So watch for habits, especially involving, alcohol, any recreational drugs, anything like that. You want to replace that energy with mindfulness, meditation, vibrations, rest, stuff like that. More Neptunian, positive Neptunian things. I would also encourage you guys to really focus and meditate on the schedule and the lifestyle that you want. And it can be a good time to go and meet a good healer or a good doctor, or somebody who can kind of help you remedy some kind of issue that you've been dealing with. Going to spas and soaking can be really helpful too, or just making dietary changes and just eating lighter or adopting more of like a liquid diet might be something that you do around this time. On the 5th of the month, we're going to see Mercury square the nodes. So Mercury is going to be in your 5th house. It's going to square the nodes. It's about you really having to pay attention to your dreams, your intuition, especially when it comes to the future of where you're going. It can be an important time where you have to communicate seriously with a lover, communicate seriously with a romantic partner, really focus and start communicating about a creative project, or start talking about children in some fashion. And it can be stressful, but it's important for you to really follow your intuition and your dreams when it comes to some of these topics. Then on the 6th, you're going to see Mars and Venus enter into your 5th house. And this is nice because it's going to be really fun, really passionate, and it's going to trine your planets in Libra. So it's going to help you have more fun, relate. Honestly, the next month is kind of funny because it's going to have you feeling like you just want to have a good time and you just want to party, or be creative, or be dating, or having fun. Some of these energies make me feel like Libras are going to realize that they've been working really hard and that they need a break, and there can be a little bit of partying too hard. On the flip side, there can be lots of creative energy. So it's wonderful for new creative projects. It's wonderful for collaborations. You're seeing your 2nd and your 8th house lord go into your 5th. So you might be dating more, having sex. And it can be a time where you're thinking a lot about investments and money, especially in regards to the market and learning more about the stock market. But also it's really passionate energy with Mars and Venus making aspects to your sign. So be mindful that love, romance is in the air, dating, sex, and this is really high chance for conception because you have Mars and Venus, your chart ruler, that are going through your 5th house. So playing with children, hanging out with children, dating, talking about children, or trying to conceive is possible. On the 19th, you're going to see Venus come into a square with Uranus. So you might find that partying has gone a little hard, a little excessive. Maybe you've been spending a lot of money going out and having entertainment. Maybe you've been gambling a little bit. And the Venus-Uranus square, because you're ruled by Venus, can be a little challenging because you can just kind of realize the excessiveness of what you've been spending. A partner can kind of get on your case about that, or there can just be this sense of friction revolving around having fun and your budget. Be mindful just to stay on top of your resources and spending. 8th house can be joint resources, or it could be credit. There can also be just a sense of all that playful, all that, you know, sexy energy, just needing to be more mindful of like the conception type energy. Sometimes I see like the Saturn 5th house square to Uranus in the 8th is unexpected pregnancies or unexpected situations in regards to love or dating. So when Venus makes that square to Uranus, it's very much the same thing. There can be changes in you feeling like you're not having enough fun, so you want to break out of it. On the 20th of the month, Mercury will come into conjunction with Jupiter in Pisces, and this is in your 6th house. So it can be about having renewed faith in your routine, what your routine can be like, making changes in your routine and your schedule, healthier habits all around, especially coming off of that new moon that you had in Pisces earlier in the month. And I feel like it can be a time where you can bring new people in because Mercury, Jupiter, I feel like if you need to hire an assistant or somebody to train a dog or somebody to clean your house, or if you just need somebody to help you get organized, these people can show up. But also it's going to be pretty close to Neptune. So there can be some issues with deceptions. You want to thoroughly kind of look through whoever you end up hiring. If they are a medical professional, make sure they're legit. If it is somebody who's going to be an assistant, make sure you check resources, references. And just really make sure it's somebody that's trustworthy. But in some cases, it can be like a gift where somebody shows up to help you with something that you've been struggling through. Then on the 22nd of the month, Mars in Aquarius in your 5th house is going to square with Uranus in Taurus in your 8th house. Mars is the ruler of your 2nd house of resources. Mars is also the ruler of your 7th house of partners and romantic partners and marital partners. So when Mars moves into your 5th and it squares Uranus, it's kind of saying there's some friction either about having fun, sexual differences, or issues revolving around resources and belief systems when it comes to what you should spend on having fun, going out, recreation, or children. So there can be a difference of opinion with these Mars and Mercury squares and the Venus squares. It's like your partner wants one thing, you want something else, you guys go back and forth, and then you guys kind of like wrestle about it. So just be mindful that that can be a bit of a challenging energy when you're seeing that square. Partners are going to be more temperamental, but at the same time, there can be more opportunities for like sporadic fun and sporadic sex and kind of connection. On the 28th, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your 5th house. Now, Venus is the ruler of your chart, so this is important. Saturn is the ruler of your 4th house, so you're committing more to your emotions and your feelings. You're committing more to being in tune with your inner child. You're committing more so to children. Let's say there's been a lot of partying and having a good time, and then at the end of the month, you're pregnant. And then you're like, nope, we're committing to this. While there's some friction at the same time, I kind of feel like whether it's committing to what your heart wants, committing to a child, committing to creative projects, you're sticking to it, especially because you're also going to see then Venus square the node. So it may take until the end of the month for this to fully materialize. I would say try to keep the peace because that can be challenging when it comes to joint resources, and having fun in moderation is definitely something that I would say. Make sure that you're making decisions that are coming from the heart and what truly makes you happy. The card that I got for you, Libra, is the King of Wands. So perhaps maybe you're dealing with a man or a fire sign, or if you have other fire placements in your chart. This can be a Leo, an Aries, or a Sagittarius. But the King of Wands is a great card because he's a leader. So it's also kind of showing some kind of opportunity maybe with Mars, which is the ruler of your 7th house, coming into your 5th, where they want to collaborate, create, have fun with you, that they want to take the initiative. They're charming, they're daring, maybe they're an entrepreneur, so they can help you with creative projects, and it's about optimism and taking control. So there can be a sense of when Mars and Venus dance together in your 5th, that both of you guys can co-create and you can have a good time doing so, and it feels like you're having fun. That's what the 5th house is. It's about self-expression and joy, and it's interesting to have all of these close to Saturn and eventually square the nodes next month, because it wants you to work and collaborate and co-create and feel like you're having fun while you're doing it. So there can be a little bit of friction at first, kind of figuring out how both parties kind of express themselves best and the best way to kind of find balance. But in the end, I think as long as you're making sure that you're using love to kind of push this forward, you're going to see lots of magic happening. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Libra. Scorpio, welcome to March 2022. This is a lot of energy in Pisces, which is a sister sign for you, which is nice. But you, like Taurus and Leo, are kind of in the hot seat this month. So pay attention to some of the energies that are going on and try to work with the changes. We've got Mercury moving into Aquarius, and it's in a conjunction with Saturn. So this is taking place in your 4th house. This can be about you having to get realistic about your long-term family and home goals. Things like signing leases, selling houses, buying houses, making decisions about your goals. Mercury rules your 11th house, and it also rules your 8th house. So it's a lot of talking about endings, inheritances, paying things off, joint resources, debt, loans, that kind of stuff. So you really benefit by talking to your partner a lot about spending and also your resources and how you can either pay things off or come to an agreement in regards to financing or paying for something in regards to the home or family. You may have a situation where a parent is saying to you that they need some assistance or that they need some help. On the flip side, it can be that a parent wants to help you. Maybe they need to move. They want to help you pay something off. They want to help you with the process and make it easier. So that's something else that can come up. But when Saturn and Mercury come together in the 4th, it's serious, and you're seriously reflecting on your home life and where this is going. And you may have to have some serious conversations either with family members or with roommates. On the 3rd of March, you're going to see Mars, Venus, and Pluto align in the sign of Capricorn in your 3rd house. Now, on one hand, when there are conjunctions between Mars and Pluto, you really want to pay attention because this is your chart ruler. And it's happening in the 3rd house, which can involve you and a partner making a decision about a vehicle, you and a partner deciding to move, handling some kind of crisis situation with a sibling or something in regards to movement in general. So kind of referencing back on whatever's been going on with the Saturn-Mercury conjunction, in the next couple of days, a lot will unfold and it'll make more sense. I'm wondering if there's a situation where you have to actually go back home and suddenly you have to tell your partner that you have to pack up and you have to go and like be with your family. That can be something that can happen, or you're just making a more long-term concrete plan and kind of talking everything out in regards to movement in the future. There can also be more communication and connection with neighbors, siblings, or other relatives, so pay attention to that. But being that you're having this unusual alignment does suggest a very powerful conversation, and it's making aspects to the North Node in the 7th. So that tells me that a partner might want to talk to you more seriously about planning a move. A partner might want to talk to you more seriously about their goals or something in regards to something that maybe they've been afraid to possibly bring up. So that's something that can kind of happen. Very important time to watch on the 3rd with that conjunction in your chart because it's involving your rulers. Then on the 5th of March, you are going to see that the Sun and Jupiter come into conjunction. It's coming into conjunction in your 5th house of romance. So maybe the reason why you're moving is actually because you need to expand. Your home and your family is growing. Maybe your children need you in some capacity. Maybe you're getting ready to expand your family or have a kid, and you guys realize that in order to do that, you actually have to have a bigger space or you have to make some change within your environment. Now, if you're not partnered, it's a really great time to meet somebody because Jupiter and the Sun in your 5th house of true love and romance can be shining a light on you meeting somebody very significant, falling in love with somebody if you're just starting to date them. Great energy for going out on dates, meeting people, being creative, and anything that's romantic. Pisces is very romantic in the 5th house, so there can be some goal orientation going on where you're like, your goal is to, you know, meet somebody and settle down, or your goal is to have a really romantic kind of dinner at home with family, and still focusing on kind of enriching the relationship that you currently have. But 5th house does deal with falling in love, going on dates, creative energy, self-employment, anything that's going to involve visuals, screens, videos, things like that. But also a lot of it is going to have to do with feeling like you're falling in love, whether that's with a hobby, a child, a person, or just expanding and wanting to do more within your romantic relationship in general. On the 13th of the month, you're going to see the Sun come into conjunction with Neptune, and that's also a very dreamy, whimsical, creative day. The Sun in your chart is the ruler of your 4th house, so perhaps maybe you're realizing that the bigger picture is your romantic partner, the bigger picture is your love life. It can be that you are welcoming a child or finding out that there's a new addition coming into the home because children are Leo, and being that it rules the 4th house, there's some emotional connection about children in general. If not you, it can be extended family as well. On the 5th of the month, you're going to see Mercury come into a square with the nodes of the moon. So that is going to represent you needing to have a conversation with a partner in regards to the future when it has to do with the home. So it's once again highlighting your goals, 11th house Lord, and also your 8th house Lord of joint resources. And to me, it seems like a partner might open up with you and talk to you about something that's really important and something that might be on their mind. And it kind of can be a difficult and challenging next couple days ahead just because of the squares from this point on. So it's really important to communicate well, speak up, remain open. Keep in mind that there can be some friction in regards to travel plans, communication, some kind of how the house or the household is flowing in general, and how that can be kind of disrupted in a way because of travel, family, or some issues with a partner or a relationship. Now, for some Scorpio or Scorpio risings, there's been this reoccurring theme of like issues between your family and potential romantic relationships and feeling like you're being pulled in both directions. That can come up. On the 6th of the month, we're going to see Mars and Venus move into Aquarius. So your home zone becomes very active. There's a lot going on there. Maybe there's friends coming to stay or visiting. Maybe there's people moving in. Maybe there's people moving out. Whatever is happening, your house and your home or your family is very active. Now, Mars and Venus are the rulers of the nodes. So you've got your ruler, Mars, which is about passion and courage, your partner or your 7th house rulers, Venus, and somehow maybe there is some like meeting of the minds where it's actually trying to get all of these energies together. Some of you guys who are single may find that you have to go back home and be around family and then you meet somebody. Or that there's just so many things going on that it's pushing you and a partner to really examine, do I want serious commitment? Am I wanting to settle down? Do I want to get married? Do I want to find a partner? Do I want to start a family? Reoccurring themes, right? So now you're going to start kind of possibly being given the opportunity to introduce somebody to the family or vice versa. Maybe you're playing house with somebody and getting a feeling for how that works with the two of you guys together in general. Mars and Venus love being near each other, but in the sign of Aquarius, you guys both need to be your quirky, kind of unconventional selves. So it can be about laying a new foundation for what the future can be in terms of your home or relationship and lifestyle, rather than doing what you've always done in the past, right? So you may kind of have issues with like independence when it comes to your home and responsibilities or families this month. On the 19th, you're going to see Venus is coming into a square with Uranus and Taurus. So Venus is the ruler of your relationship house. Uranus is Also going through your relationship house. So it's interesting to see that to me, there's like a little bit of tension building with the square of Venus in your 4th to Uranus in your 7th. So maybe family coming and visiting, or family being in the home, or changes in regards to like the domestic zone really kind of upsets or disrupts a partner in some capacity. Maybe Venus coming into the 4th is people moving your things around, a partner moving your things around, you know, changing too much, and it's kind of like hard for you to adapt. You might not like the couch that they buy or the blinds that they pick out, right? That kind of stuff can start happening. But you want to watch, because Venus does rule your partner. And so when Venus squares off with Uranus, that can kind of suggest that there's just something that's not meshing when it comes to emotions and relationships, or home and also relationships, domestic preferences. And you can have partners that are a little bit more on edge. On Mercury, on the 20th, Mercury will conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. So this is really good because it's in your 5th house. It's good news revolving around something in regards to a love affair, good news in regards to something in regards to your goals, joining with another person, merging with another person. Perhaps maybe it's saying, I love you, or somebody saying, I love you to you, and helping you work through any fears that you may have about vulnerability, or moving through old heartbreak, or anything relating to I think maybe good advice, or somebody who kind of helps you work through something creatively. Like you might show a project to a friend and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It can also be just like a total lucky serendipitous situation where somebody can actually benefit you by wanting to invest in one of your creative ideas. So very positive for you on the 20th. On the 22nd of the month, you're going to see Mars come into a square with Uranus. So where around the 19th, it was more kind of like partners creating friction. Now when Mars, your ruling planet, comes into a square with Uranus, it's you causing friction in some capacity with your partners or your families, creating tension, and there's stress revolving around both parties. So when you see Mars in the 4th house, it might be that you're just like a little bit grumpier than usual, or maybe that you're wanting to move and you're wanting to create change, or you're wanting to kind of really clear or declutter the house in some way. And when it squares off with Uranus in your 7th house, it can set your partner off. There can be things revolving around you just being impatient and wanting to have things move forward a little bit more quickly. And your partner can get a little riled up. There can also be just domestic stuff. If you're not in a relationship, but you're just starting to see somebody, it can be issues revolving around differences of where you guys live. And some of the strife that you have in the next month is trying to help you problem solve and figure out, you know, can we move? You know, would I move for love? Would I, you know, pack my bags and go somewhere else? Would I sell my house? Would I follow somebody somewhere? So these are other things that can kind of start happening for you guys. Watch for that though, like I said, on the 22nd, because that energy is going to be around clear till the end of the month. Then on the 28th, Venus will come into conjunction with Saturn. So it tells me that a partner might either lay down the law and have like a boundary or a timeline or an ultimatum or an expectation when it comes to a relationship. You can have a situation where a romantic partner is like, it's either my house or no relationship. It's either me or your family. And unfortunately, you're one of the signs that's going to feel like you can't appease everybody. The South Node in your 1st house or in your sign is really learning to let go of selfishness or wanting to do things your way. And you're having to be willing to make long-term solid commitments in regards to your home and family life to also appease a partner. So it can feel really difficult basically when it comes to both your family and also your romantic relationships in the next month. I would just say hang in there. Realize that Uranus, which is your relationship sector, really doesn't give a shit about you know, where you live, or sometimes even your family. They can be a little unstable or all over the place and really be pushing you and incentivizing you to create change and really get serious about locking into long-term home or domestic commitments. Thankfully, the sextiles, I think, between Jupiter in your 5th house into your 7th house, Taurus, is like, I'll do anything for love. And there can be sudden chance situations where you fall in love, you meet somebody, you wind up pregnant. That's like, okay, we're doing this. And for some of you guys, that can definitely happen in this next month. Now, on the 30th, you're going to see Venus come into a square with the nodes. And this is probably when things after this point are going to calm down a little bit, although I got to tell you guys, the squares are only building until we get to April. But nevertheless, when Venus squares the nodes, because Venus is located in your 4th and it's squaring off with the North Node in the 7th, it can be somebody basically saying like, okay, you know, I'll move in if it means that we're going to talk about serious commitment or getting married. You know, I will move in if you let me, you know, change the carpets and redecorate the bathrooms or whatever. There can also be some sense of a partner saying to you, you know, I want to help you heal from the past. I want to help you move forward. So pay attention for that. That can be something that can be really beneficial. When Venus squares the nodes, we have to apply a little bit more love, a little more tenderness and understanding. So there is a need for you to really look at it and kind of go, okay, you know, I've been down this path before, but I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. And I'm going to deal with anything coming up from my childhood. Childhood trauma is coming up a lot for Scorpio and Scorpio rising, both because of the South Node in your sign, but also because you have Saturn in your 4th house of the past and home and family. And it's squaring off with Uranus, and you can be getting triggered from a partner and realize that there are certain things you haven't dealt with from your childhood that's actually holding you back from being able to fully move forward. So just be mindful of that. Let's see what the cards have to say. The card that I get is the Page of Swords. So the Page of Swords is a messenger. It's about being communicative, curious, being able to share, communicate at all costs, right? Page of Swords is kind of relentless in a way. It does say watch your mouth, watch how you communicate, especially during the Mercury square to the nodes, that there are things that can be said that can be really challenging within, you know, 10 days to 2 weeks time from a partner to really get over or overcome. There can be a lot of mental stimulation and messaging, communicating, phone calls back and forth. And I would say it's important to stay open and when in doubt, communicate, because that's what the Page of Swords wants to do. It wants to understand, it wants to relate information. It can also be talking about a younger person being involved, or somebody who's like a mediator or somebody who can help you communicate and kind of get to the core of issues. Sometimes like taking a little bit of a step back to think about things if you can't communicate efficiently verbally, is like writing a note or writing a letter, and learning not to be careless with your words, because pages can sometimes be a little harsh in terms of how they communicate, a little immature with their words, and it can come back to kind of like bite you in the butt later in the month when you start seeing those squares between Venus and the nodes, and somebody can have a really difficult time coming back from something that you've said. So take that into consideration, realize that it's important to stay open and you're learning new ways of communicating with your family and your partners, and it's a bit of a learning curve right now. A lot of this is about opening up and being more vulnerable. All right, so now we've got Sag and Sag rising. We've got Mercury coming into a conjunction with Saturn. That's going to be on the 2nd of the month. That is going to happen in your 3rd house. So Mercury, Saturn, signing a contract, agreeing to something, having a meeting. Being that Mercury is the ruler of your 7th house, it makes me feel like maybe it's the beginning of a new business merger. Maybe you're sharing softwares with somebody. Maybe you're managing schedules now alongside someone that you're in a relationship or someone who you're working with. You might make a commitment to sign something, okay? Look for stuff that you have to sign. And this can also be leases or talking about moving or moving in together. It can also be hiring a new real estate agent and somebody who's going to help you find a space or a place. Maybe talking a lot with your partner about, you know, issues with your siblings or purchasing a new car. So something like that can be happening there. And, you know, one thing that I would really pay attention to is that there can be like a new book or like a belief system or something that can kind of like come into your life in some way here. So watch for that, because that seems pretty prominent in terms of just something that you're listening to or reading that can really help you get serious about, you know, better communicating or just like some kind of lifestyle change in general. On the 3rd of the month, Mars and Venus and Pluto are all going to align in the sign of Capricorn. So big things are happening in regards to your money and your resources. For some of you guys, it has felt like feast or famine. It's been like money in, money out, where it's like it's a never ending, you know, kind of cycle of like making money and paying things off. On the other hand, some of you guys might be feeling like you're bringing in more money than ever before and looking at having to make a large purchase. Now, Venus has been retrograde in this part of your chart for some time, which tells me that you've been focusing more on self-esteem, what you're eating, health, wellness, and maybe now you're starting to physically see some of those results. But when these planets all align, it is talking about where trauma has been stored in the body, because it's really relating to your 6th and your 12th house, and maybe perhaps some kind of eating issue, dietary issue, self-esteem issue has gotten on hand and it's been really unhealthy, and you're finally kind of kicking some bad habits and focusing more on feeling good in your body and building yourself up, and perhaps maybe even getting stronger. So you might be focusing more on like weightlifting or anything in regards to just toning in general, and maybe making some refinements in your diet and adding more protein. This can also be a time where, like I said, there's like large sums of money coming in and going out. Mars has a tendency to spend, Venus has a tendency to make, and then there's Pluto, and maybe you're kind of assessing like, am I working to live or am I living to work? And how can I be better with my money and my resources so I feel like I have more free time? Then on the 5th of the month, the sun comes into conjunction with Jupiter, and that's beautiful. That tells me some of you guys might be planning a trip away, a bigger move, flying back home to visit family, looking at moving to another city or even another country. Maybe you're playing around with the idea of that. It's such a great thing to see the sun come into conjunction with Jupiter, because it's your chart ruler. So at the very least, it's like really enjoying a lot of time with your family, visiting with your family coming to visit you, good times to be had, expanding the home, feeling really happy, all of that stuff. But it's in Pisces, so it's more emotional. So it's like emotionally feeling really fulfilled, reflecting on your past. You can feel sentimental. You can be looking for things that remind you of your childhood home, or wanting to go home and visit because you miss it or you miss a parent. And I think that with the conjunction that's also inevitably going to happen down the road between Jupiter and Neptune, some of you guys are looking for your perfect home. So whether you're looking for the perfect place, look for places that might be near water. So lakes, pools, ponds, oceans, things like that. There's some kind of water element, and you're wanting to kind of build a home that is like a temple or a sacred space. Part of this is also realizing that the home is within yourself. So if you're feeling reminiscent and sad about missing good times or where you used to live or what have you, it's also kind of like really emotionally healing and kind of going like, I am home, right? Then the sun comes into conjunction with Neptune on the 13th. So what this is going to do is have you probably a little dreamy, a little sleepy, a little lazy. It might be a nice day to spend time by the pool, or have a nice vacation with family, just take a little bit of time off. Great mental health day. It's a time also to redecorate the home, play music, you know, burn your sage or candles, blast your chanting stuff, you know, meditate, really bringing more spirituality into the home, and it might make you kind of really heal any issues from the past that you have emotionally. On the 5th and the 6th of March, Mercury is going to come into a square with the nodes. So Mercury is in Aquarius in your 3rd house. It's going to square the nodes, where maybe you read something, you hear something, you have an experience that makes you realize that actually there has been a mental connection to some kind of hang up that I'm having, health or diet or fitness wise. It can be a conversation that really changes things for you big time, and it really makes you have a breakthrough. It can also be an important conversation you have with a neighbor or with a sibling or with a friend. And you might feel this impulse to be like, I'm going to pick up the phone, because it is sextiling your placements in Sag. Then on the 6th, Mars and Venus come into conjunction, and that's also going to be in your 3rd house. So it's almost like I'm calling my sibling, you know, let's go away for a weekend. Let's do a getaway trip, just you and me. You're going to feel impulsive when it comes to either making travel plans or learning something, or possibly making a purchase in regards to a vehicle, or updating a vehicle or something of that nature. Now, Mars and Venus rule your natal 12th and 6th house, so that coming into conjunction in your 3rd can also be very unexpected news that comes suddenly from a sibling or possibly from a family member. They're possibly unveiling something that you didn't know, or telling you about something that you didn't know, or vice versa. Maybe you are startled and you stumble upon something on social media and you call them and you're like, oh my God, can you believe this? Something like that's likely to happen. So just pay attention to communication between family with that conjunction. But you can feel really inspired, learning a lot about language, art, and wanting to spend time with friends. So that's really good for that conjunction. Art healing is something that might come up for you quite a bit, actually. Then on the 19th of the month, Venus comes into a square with Uranus. So Venus is in your 3rd house. It's going to square Uranus in your 6th. This makes me feel like, because you're really adamant about, oh, I really, got this new car, I want to hit the road, or I'm really restless, I need a break. Possibly some friction in regards to you wanting to jump in and do something like this, and how it's actually affecting your schedule, and maybe calling in sick and disrupting a coworker, right, with that square to Uranus in the 6th. You want to pay attention also to anything in regards to your diet, digestion, health. Venus can be health, so it can tell me that there can be some kind of stuff involving issues with hands, or be very careful driving. Car accidents can happen when you see squares from the 3rd house to the nodes in the 12th or the 6th, especially if you're texting and driving, don't do it. If you're stressed out and driving, don't do it. And I think that when you experience this square, it's more so going to materialize as you kind of realizing like, wow, I'm like really stressed out. I have to better manage my schedule. Health issues can come up for pets because that's Uranus in the 6th. And you can also see that just a lot of mental stress leads to kind of like a discombobulated schedule, and also just changes in your diet. And it gives you the opportunity to catch it before you fall back on old patterns. On the 20th of the month, Mercury comes into conjunction with Jupiter in Pisces. So this is overall pretty good. Jupiter transits are positive because you're Jupiter ruled, and this is going to happen in your 4th house. So that makes me feel like perhaps maybe watch out. You can hear from somebody from the past. Somebody from the past can pop up back into your life. They can reach back out to you. Family from the past can reach back out to you. There can be an opportunity with the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction for you to decide that you want to bring somebody home to meet the family, or vice versa. Maybe you're bringing a new person you've been dating into your home for the very first time. Maybe you talk to them about your past and you open up about where you've been. Regardless, the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction is positive, and it's really highlighting both the 7th house, which is Gemini for you, but also Virgo, which is your career. So you're able to kind of talk about where you've been so you can better move in the direction of where you're going, and you're very optimistic, maybe sharing new news with your family about the direction that you're going with either a new relationship or some new career endeavors. When we see this conjunction happen, it can also materialize as talking about getting married, getting engaged, or making more serious commitments and moving in with another person. On the 22nd of the month, Mars will come into a square with Uranus. So Mars is in Aquarius. It is currently in your 3rd house, coming into a square with Uranus, which is in your 6th. So this is more so the time where you really want to pay attention to issues revolving around traveling and driving, because Mars is going to be more action oriented. It rules your 12th house, so it can be mental stress, or you being on your phone leading to some disruptions in your travel or your driving. You can have some issues with your schedule where actually like a digital schedule gets messed up, or booking softwares get messed up in some capacity. So I would say watch out for that as well. That's something else that can happen. And because in your chart, Mars is both the ruler of your 5th house and also your 12th house, there can be lots of unexpected situations coming about in regards to romantic partners and things that you were not aware of that can either be upsetting or unsettling. So watch for that right around the 22nd. On the 28th, Venus comes into a conjunction with Saturn. That is going to be happening in your 3rd house. So you're committing and kind of going, no, I'm staying the path. I'm focusing on healing. I'm focusing on having a schedule or a lifestyle that feels good. Maybe you're committing more seriously to a new program, something that you're learning in regards to self-help. Maybe you're just focusing on biking more, walking around your neighborhood to neutralize stress, talking to your friends more through the whole process on the phone, so that way you can move through whatever crisis might be coming up for you as a result of these transits. And I also feel like the Venus-Saturn conjunction is really committing to a healthier state of mind and reminding yourself that, you know, you have to be practicing those mantras, you have to be speaking kindly to yourself, that your body is responding to everything that you are saying or doing. So it's really important to have a good, healthy relationship with yourself and a healthy mind. Then on the 30th, you're going to see that Venus comes into a square with the nodes. So Venus in the 3rd, coming into a square with the nodes both in the 12th and the 6th house, represents the need to adopt this new like almost like lifestyle, or this new communication style, or this new belief system, or this new way of communicating. I'm wondering if it's going to be about you guys learning more about just self-help and wellness. Honestly, that seems to be something that's kind of coming up. With all of the squares, it's like, you know, becoming aware of where there's been subconscious patterning and tendencies that are not healthy that you need to let go of. I think of like the energies in your 3rd house is like, you know, cyber stalking, obsessively, you know, looking at old text pictures, obsessively thinking about things, negative self-talk. There's like a need to really let this die off and come up with either a routine or a process for you to let this go. The 3rd house can be walking, biking, and breathing. So bicycling, working out, going on a walk, listening to a podcast, and practicing mantras and doing breath work can really help you through this process and focus more on embodiment. You're still on the path to really focusing on health and wellness, really clear, you know, till later this year. There's going to be more kind of refinement coming for you in April, May, and June. Let's see what the cards say for you, Sag, for the month ahead. So the card that I get is the Queen of Swords. So this is all about breathing, communicating, sharing ideas, writing, journaling, right? Something like that. Queen of Swords can represent somebody who's independent, intelligent, honest, fair, really clear with boundaries, and objective and logical. She can give or receive constructive criticism. That's something else that I would look for. This can be somebody who you can talk to this month. It can be an air sign, so it can be a Gemini, or it can be a Libra or an Aquarius, who gives you like a different perspective and who might kind of give you some tough love and be like really matter of fact about what you can and can't do. This is also tuning into your intuition and learning more about what your gut is telling you and paying attention to your gut and what you can actually do to create change. And you want to work a lot with the element of air, so burning, smudging things can be good. Chimes, you know, music, anything like Tai Chi, like moving the energy and really working with the energy of air is going to help you clear a lot of this stuff out. But to me, it seems like you're becoming more clear with your boundaries, and you're really focused on integrity, and you're really focused on getting the point across and learning that having boundaries does not mean that you're mean. Having boundaries means just that you're communicating and expressing what doesn't work for you, so that way you feel better and you're not so stressed out, or you're not so kind of overloaded mentally, right? So hopefully that is helpful for you, Sag. Next up is Capricorn and Cap Rising. Welcome to March 2022. So we have got Mercury coming into conjunction with Saturn in your 2nd house. So this is important because you're a Saturn-ruled sign. Mercury can be about serious conversations and decisions that you make in regards to your resources, how much money you're spending, what you're eating, what you're saying, anything that comes out of your mouth, basically, or goes in your mouth. So, you know, this can be a really important time for Capricorns to get serious about their money and their resources. If you're somebody who knows you're worth more, you're going to start speaking like that and being like, nope, you're going to pay me, or this is my fee. It's also going to be a time where I think it's really important because it's materializing for you as really tapping into your own talents. There's lots of talent in the second house, you know, especially when it's like writing or sharing of ideas or collaborating. If you're wanting to get more into writing, screenwriting, writing books, films, whatever, like now is the time. And really tapping into that. So Mercury coming into conjunction can be a time where maybe somebody makes you an offer, or you're seeking some kind of loan or some kind of line of credit. Somebody makes an offer and it may not be exactly what you thought it was going to be. They might offer you a lower rate, or they may offer you a lower salary. So I'd say watch for that. You don't want to get lowballed here. It's really important to know your worth and really stand in that. On the 3rd of the month, Mars, Venus, and Pluto are all aligning in your sign, Capricorn, and this is in your first house, and this is a power up. You are in a breakdown or breakthrough period. Look at what's happened the last 2 months. There's been lots of clearing out going on for you, so you come into your own personal power. You want to be mindful. You can be a little intense. You can be a little moody. Venus rules your home life and Mars rules your career life, and you might just kind of feel like, I'm fed up with all of it. I'm really having a difficult time with my home. Lots are changing. It's too hard for me to maintain this, or it's too hard for me to maintain my emotions, or family obligations being a lot. And then with Venus coming into the mix, it's also like a breakthrough that you're having in regards to whether or not you're getting along with women at work, or if you're loving your career. This is the day that I would take it easy if you are a Capricorn or a Capricorn rising. Just be mindful that this is going to be some intense energy. As with all the signs, I would say, you know, you guys might want to listen to my astro weather that I'm going to be putting out here pretty soon for this next week, because it'll be really helpful in kind of giving you all the really important dates beyond these. There's a lot more in these videos than there were last month, and primarily just because there's just going to be a lot of change. So I couldn't really skimp on the details, but if you want more about those energies, watch that video. On the 5th of the month, you're going to see the sun come into conjunction with Jupiter in your 3rd house. Good news, good opportunities for travel, writing something, sharing your insights, breakthroughs spiritually. It can be a really amazing time for meditation and journaling and writing. You might feel very inspired. You can, you know, start a new course that involves language. You can start something new that involves just like workshops or things that you're learning in general. And I feel like being that Jupiter is the ruler of your 12th house, you might kind of feel like it's just like a day where you just download and there's like all of this natural communication or natural writing where you feel very inspired. So that's a day to really watch. On the 13th, the sun comes into conjunction with Neptune, and that's going to materialize more as maybe kind of both of these days having kind of spiritual breakthroughs, but there can be lots of emotions, lots of feelings, really letting it go, you know, calling a friend because you need some insight and just kind of feeling like you need to shake it all out, right? But Sun Neptune can be somebody who lends a helping hand or a shoulder to cry on, or even an ear if you need to pick up the phone and kind of vent a little bit. So that can be really positive because you can get some really nice insight. Definitely a day to also be considering getting a reading or looking at your tarot cards, because it can indicate that you can get some real clarity in regards to what direction you should be going in. On March 5th and 6th, Mercury in Aquarius moves to square the nodes. This is happening in your 2nd house, so you have to make some bigger decisions when it comes to money and also resources. And it's going to square the South Node in your 11th, letting go of old friends, letting go of old goals. It's going to square the North Node in your 5th house, where you're really craving, I think, more creativity, more fun, more freedom, you know, a better dating life, a more romance, or children in some way. So there can be this breakthrough where you're like, I have to have the conversation. I really want to have kids, or I really want to launch this project, or I'm really passionate about this hobby, so I'm going to invest in it. So it might require you to invest either your time or your energy into any one of those things. On the 6th, Mars and Venus move into your 2nd house. So money in, money out. You're spending money, you're making money. And that's something that you want to pay attention to. Your financial sector and your self-esteem is very much going to be a hot topic this month and also in April. But Mars and Venus going through the second house makes me feel like you can be splurging a little bit more on your beauty routine, buying some stuff for yourself, going out more with friends. And I would say watch your spending and your budgeting, because you can be feeling like, oh, I'm making money, and you can spend a bunch of money. But then when you get into the squares later in the month, it can get a little uncomfortable. Same thing goes with borrowing or loaning money to friends or romantic partners. It can get a little sticky, so watch out for that. I more see it as like, how much money do you invest in a new hobby, and do you go all in and then kind of down the road regret being like, oh my gosh, why did I spend $1,000 on supplies to make candles, or why did I spend a bunch of money on this new hobby, I don't even like it. So sample things, try to do stuff in group settings. If there's something that interests you, take a course, take a class, so that way you're not buying a bunch of stuff, so you can really make sure you like it. You're really playing with this energy for the immediate next 2 months, but especially all the way up through May or June, when hobbies can actually turn into something that's more significant. If it's in regards to children, because it's also in a square to Uranus that's in your 5th house, it can be whether or not you feel the pressure of being able to provide for children, or enough money or resources to have children, and really pushing for that if that's important to you. On the let's see, on the 19th, Venus in Aquarius will square Uranus. So that's more the stress revolving around, do I have the resources for creative projects or hobbies or children? Or it can also be like, man, I'm really strapped for cash right now. I'm trying to focus more on my money, but I want to have fun. How do I do that on a budget? Or I'm really strapped for cash. How do I entertain and go and date if I'm on a budget, or if I'm having lower self-esteem? Believe it or not, low self-esteem can affect things big time. It can affect your creative output, and it can also affect whether or not you're getting a lot of receptivity from potential romantic partners. So I really would encourage you, Capricorn, to really put all of your faith and your energy in building your self-esteem up, focusing on things that bring you joy and happiness, participating in dating and getting to know new people if that's an interest of yours, spending time with children, younger people. That's really going to help you feel better all together. Now, on the 20th of the month, you're going to see that Mercury comes into a conjunction with Jupiter in Pisces. So this is going to be happening in your 3rd house. To me, it seems like there's good news coming in some way from a sibling, or maybe you're booking a short distance trip. It's very possible that you pick up a new gadget, a new phone, a new computer, a new car, a new laptop. That's something that can happen. Jupiter is the ruler of your 12th house, so it might seem like it came out of the blue, it came out of nowhere, or maybe you're like, I have to, book this course, or I have to book this trip. So that's something else that can kind of come up for you. It's a little impulsive, but it's good. And it's also possibly feeling more inspired because of like a pep talk you had with like a psychic or a therapist or a sibling, and them encouraging you to make changes and take chances. You're going to be like, I'm going to do it. Refer back to the 5th and the 13th for more insight when Sun and Jupiter and Neptune were doing their thing. Then on the 22nd of the month, Mars in Aquarius comes into a square with Uranus in Taurus. Now, this is going to be happening in your 2nd house. So this is wanting to spend money, or feeling like you have to spend money maybe to entertain, or that there's a lot more expenses coming up for children, and that it's kind of stressful, and you're like, how do I do this? I could also see a situation playing out where Mars in your 2nd house is wanting to eat more and wanting to kind of party more and entertain more. So if you're somebody who's kind of going on a bender, going out and entertaining a lot, or just going out to bars and drinking more, you might be eating more. So you might just really kind of feel that happening. But you're really seeking pleasure with those squares between the 2nd and the 5th house. And I kind of feel like you're more willing to spend money to make money. So you might be feeling a little bit more likely to put money into a slot machine, go to a casino, maybe spending a lot of money on a new restaurant in a place that you've never been. That kind of stuff can kind of come up. So you're a little bit more risk-taking when it comes to resources. So just watch for that. And on the 28th of the month, Venus comes into a conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius in your 2nd house. So that's like after, 2 or 3 weeks of partying, then you get the credit card bill, This is when Saturn aligns with Venus in your house of resources, and you're like, oh my God, I can't keep eating like this. I can't keep spending like this. This isn't my style. This isn't, you know, this doesn't feel good. So there can be this feeling of like realizing that you've gone on a bit of like a binge or a bender, and that's not actually ultimately gonna make you feel better. So when Venus conjuncts Saturn, because Saturn is your chart ruler, and Venus also is the ruler of your 5th house, which is true love, or your inner child, and it's also the ruler of your 10th house, you're committing more to true love. You're committing more to stuff that is solid and reliable. You're doing more inner child work. You're focusing more on creativity, and you're not giving up on a love affair. Finally, on the 30th of the month, you are going to see Venus come into a square with the nodes. Now, Venus will be in your 2nd house still, coming into a square with the 5th house north node and the 11th house south node. And this can be a turning point when it comes to investments. It can be a turning point where you're like, okay, I have to invest in this. I feel like I have a really strong connection to this person. It's a risk, but I'm going to take it. Possibly making a big purchase or spending because you want to impress a romantic partner, or because you want to take a leap of faith when it comes to really putting your heart and soul into a project. So that's why I'm telling you guys, wait, because even still, for all of the signs going into next month, we're still going to see conjunctions to Saturn and squares to the nodes. So it's still playing out really the first 2 weeks of April. So we kind of have to take this energy as it comes. But for you, for the most part, maybe you're, you know, just taking some money that you have earned and you're putting it into investments and hoping that it's going to pay off. That's the feeling that I'm getting. Or taking risks in romance. I would say be careful. With casinos, though, that kind of makes me a little nervous. Both Capricorn and Libra need to be careful with those energies. And it's going to square, also, Venus will square your 11th house south node transit. So you can feel like you're giving up a friend, you're taking a risk. In some situations, romantic partners can come from friendships, and somebody who is a friend can prove to maybe be something more, or that there's much more of a stronger connection there. So taking leaps of faith maybe with that as well. So let's see what the tarot has to say for you, Capricorn. The card that I get is the 6 of Cups, true love. Taking a risk, man. That's all what the 5th house is all about. Where you don't want to surrender is wherever Aquarius and Taurus is in your chart. So that's your self-esteem, and that's also either children, your heart, creativity. But this is a card that deals with nostalgia, childhood memories, gifts, innocence, reunion, joy, comfort, healing, pleasure. But this can also be a card that's associated with soulmates. I don't use that word very much because we have tons of them. But somebody coming into your life that you're just like, I know you, I recognize you, or something very nostalgic maybe from your childhood that you really want to buy or you want to purchase, something that you used to love doing when you were a kid, and maybe now it's like a collector's item or something, so you buy it. It can be a game or just something that brought you a lot of joy when you were younger, and splurging in some capacity. But this is about familiarity and kind of getting more so familiar with your inner child and learning how to play and enjoying yourself. So please do that. And if you end up meeting people, or there is some kind of connection to somebody who feels very familiar, follow it, because to me it seems very significant for you. Very innocent as well. Now we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Welcome to March of 2022. We have got Mercury coming into a conjunction with Saturn in your sign in the 1st house. And boy, you mean business. This tells me that you're kind of in a situation where when it comes to expressing your heart, wearing your heart on your sleeve, having boundaries, dealing with children, romantic partners, or anything of that capacity, you are serious. Remember, Mercury has been retrograde in your sign. It stopped short of Saturn. Now that it's coming into conjunction with Saturn, you've made a decision and you're speaking, you know, you're saying what's on your mind, you're saying what's on your heart. So really focus on boundaries, and it's really important for you to feel heard, because I'm kind of getting the impression as the month goes on, you're going to get challenged when it comes to your boundaries emotionally or within your home with your family. And so it's like, if you're saying at the beginning of the month, this is what I'm sticking to, this is the plan, this is how I'm going to handle myself, stay the course. Even though it's going to be difficult, stay the course. Mars, Venus, and Pluto come into alignment in Capricorn in your 12th house. So certain things are ending. Things are wrapping up. You're having to learn to let some things go, okay? Venus rules your 4th house. So being that Venus is there and Mars also rules your 10th house, it's like there's big changes going on with your identity in the world, your career, possibly where you're living. You're letting go of an old identity. So some people, you know, Aquarius, you guys are one of the fixed signs who's going to get hit. I have seen some Aquarius risings that are like, I feel like I can't win, you know, I feel like I have to go my own way, and life is very difficult right now because work stuff is kind of shifting and ending, and I'm changing out of old identities with who I used to work for and what I used to be. But also lots are changing within your home, and you might be kind of in your head a little bit about all these conjunctions, feeling like there's just too much going on at one time and that you have a loss of control, right? Try to rest, recuperate, you know, get adequate sleep. It's really important while you're having this conjunction. Very soon, once this conjunction is over, later in the week, you're going to see Mars and Venus cross your ascendant, and you're going to feel very passionate. You're going to need a lot of freedom. You're going to need a lot of independence, and you are going to be a force to be reckoned with. That is for sure, because this is all your energy. So you're going to do things very different and a lot more independent than I think people are expecting you to. You're going to go your own way. Now, on the 5th of the month, the sun comes into conjunction with Jupiter, so it's a renewed self-esteem, new opportunities, especially when it comes to belongings, making money, resources, kind of breakthrough opportunities. It can be a big check that you get. It's a big payment. It's a bonus, something like that. Or just renewed self-esteem, right? Because, you know, the sun actually rules your 7th house. So it can be like good news in regards to a relationship, a partner's making more money, or you find that you can actually hold on to a relationship in the midst of all of the chaos that's happening. But good financial news is coming. On the 13th, the sun conjuncts Neptune, and you want to be very careful when it comes to money, resources, and transactions. You want to make sure that that promise has been followed through, especially with the Jupiter conjunction with the sun. It's like, okay, but where's the money? Where's the payment? And be careful when it comes to transactions, you know, buying, selling things, paying people things. Things can go missing, money can go missing, money can be stolen. I've seen money disappear with Sun-Neptune conjunctions in the 2nd. Ironically, it's the ruler of your 7th. So let's say, touch wood, this isn't the case, but you're in the process of going through a separation and you're kind of breaking something off with somebody, and somebody says, look, I'll pay you, you know, I'll give you your half of, you know, the savings account, or I'll let you have the furniture or whatever. I want to make sure that they actually do that, right? I want to make sure that they aren't actually taking money from something or hiding something, because there can be something like that that's going on. So just pay attention. On the 5th and 6th of the month, we have Mercury coming into a square with the nodes. So Mercury is in your 1st house. It is squaring the North node in your 4th and the South node in your 10th, which means things are changing, you know, stuff either revolving around your career or stuff revolving around home and family dynamics are changing in a big way, and you need to speak out, okay? Mercury is the ruler of your 5th house. It is also the ruler of Virgo. So really what it's reiterating for you is that you can't mince words. You have to be really direct, really communicative about how you feel, and people can either take it or leave it. And you're going to feel probably a little bit more outspoken than usual, but it's time for you to just, you know, kind of say how you feel. It might take some people back, partners, family members, also people at work. You might kind of feel like you're kind of losing it a little bit, and you're feeling like you need to take a big step back and focus on self-preservation first. Put your oxygen mask on first. It's very important, because other people are kind of going to be going through it, and it's important for you to realize you are an Aquarius. You channel these energies better than anybody else. You can handle chaos, change, transformation. You can be independent. You are going to be a leader for kind of learning where we can actually go in our own direction and just be fearless, right? And be a little rebellious in a good way. Now on the 6th, Mars and Venus move into your sign. So like I said, you're going to be feeling super, super, super passionate. But when Venus squares Uranus on the 19th, I think this is going to be a time to watch, because it tells me that the more that you're focusing on yourself, the more that you're putting energy into yourself and kind of being more assertive and loving yourself more, home or family members may not respond well to that, or they may not understand, or they may see you as being selfish because you're looking out for yourself first and you're trying to practice self-preservation. When you change the rules of the game, people don't respond well. So realize that
with all the squares happening right now, Aquarius, especially Aquarius rising, March clear into May, there is no negotiations. Like, you really, really do need to stand up for yourself. And if other people don't like it, or family situations or home domestic situations don't like it, then you'll start reevaluating that in a couple months' time. So just be aware of that. Then on the 20th of the month, Mercury comes into conjunction with Pisces. So that is a good conjunction, good news in regards to recovering assets, money, resources, maybe getting an email or a check in the mail, something that's saying you're getting a bonus or that you're going to be bringing more in. It also might indicate that you're seeking the support or advice somehow of somebody who can talk to you a little bit more about money and resources. I'm wondering if that is going to be like you talking to another creative or somebody who can just kind of help you, boost your resources in some capacity. Mercury Jupiter is always good news. So when that is happening in your second house, and it is also ruled by sister sign Gemini, there's something like you might book a trip, you might plan to go somewhere, you might plan a bigger move, you might be willing to spend a little bit more to just kind of get away from it all. On the 22nd, Mars in Aquarius in your sign comes into a square with Uranus. So you're feeling a little reactionary, a little angry, maybe a little rebellious, maybe it's hard for you to sit at home or be around family, maybe you're really getting anxious and you really want to move, and with Mars on your sign, it makes you really passionate and heated, but you can actually move very quickly and you can get into quarrels or confrontations with family members, roommates, or people that you live with, or partners. So watch for that, because it tells me that almost like the frustration can build until you more or less kind of give yourself the freedom that you need for situations that feel very limiting, right? Watch out for just jumping to conclusions, being rash, or being a little too aggressive, because I feel like that's definitely something that can happen. And it's interesting to see like Mars on your ascendant squaring Uranus, which is your chart ruler. It can kind of suggest that you're getting frustrated with a situation in the home that you may have created, right? You may have created that. On the 28th of the month, Venus comes into conjunction with Saturn, and that is going to align your 5th house Lord, Venus, and also your 4th house Lord into a conjunction, your 9th house Lord and your 4th house Lord into a conjunction. And maybe you start thinking about like, oh, is it time for me to move somewhere else? Do I need to move further away? Venus-Saturn is a serious commitment. So more so in the 1st house, that's like, I'm committed to living places that feel happy and harmonious for me. I'm committed to being an activist for love and self-respect. And the decisions that I'm making are to put myself first. Like I said, it doesn't always vibe well with other people. So you might find yourself as early as the 30th, when Venus comes into a square with the nodes, is having to take the first steps in actually practicing self-love. And sometimes that's removing yourself from a situation, moving out of somewhere, breaking some kind of relationship off with a family member, or kicking out a roommate. Something like that can be happening, and you're going to realize like, oh, I have to do this in order to feel safe. This is part of my self-love routine. So Aquarius, like all the fixed signs, Godspeed. Godspeed. Hopefully it goes well for you. I think in the end, for everybody, we're going to find that the closer that we get to April, May, June, a lot of the tumultuousness that we're going through is to better kind of come into the North Node in Taurus, like I said, and having security. Let's see what the cards say for you. Temperance. Great card. Balance and patience, right? Harmony, healing, self-control, moderation, purpose, peace, calm, tranquility, serenity. There is a way to assert yourself without being confrontational. And I know you know that because you're an air sign, because Aquarius can do this marvelous thing where it's like, oh, that's your perspective. Okay, that's great. Well, take care. Hope it all works out for you. What do we say like in the Midwest? Like, bless your heart, And it's being able to being able to heal something within yourself and giving yourself the freedom to find balance and find peace. And sometimes that means walking away, right? I'm going to talk about this a lot in my video in the next month, but been reading a lot of books that I'm going to share with you guys. And one thing that's come up a lot, one of the books that I'm reading is being a rebel for change, being a rebel for peace, right? And that maybe it's not that you're being so inflexible or that you're being stubborn, but it's just like, I need peace. I need peace. I need freedom. If I can't get it here, then I have to go, and spare me all of the drama. I'm not going to get into it with you. I'm just going to go my own way because I need healing. So this can be a card that you can meditate with, a great card to meditate with. It can really help you focusing on finding that balance, even if that's just like a little R&R and being on your own. You know, it'll do you some good between now and April. Last but not least, we have Pisces and Pisces rising. Welcome to March of 2022. Happy birthday to my March Pisces. Hope you guys are doing well. The month kicks off with Saturn and Mercury conjunct in your 12th house. So meditation will be your best friend. Isolation, more in a sense of being able to reflect and maybe put old relationship issues to rest. Maybe it's about putting old living situations and family drama to rest. It's about being serious and somber and reflecting on the future and peacefully letting things go. There can be friend separations, breakups, or just friends that don't get back to you with the Saturn-Mercury conjunction, so be mindful of that. And somebody who might ghost you and just not respond. On the 3rd of the month, Mars, Venus, and Pluto all align in the sign of Capricorn. It's in your 11th house. My, you are super passionate about your goals. You might have powerful friends around you, focusing on collaborating with friends. There can be a real opportunity to feel inspired through what some of your friends are doing, and you're kind of working and networking and really getting on the up and up when it comes to some of your career stuff. You might really benefit from joining a group or an association with this conjunction before you lose it. Pisces is, you know, a lot of things are changing, and I think the more that you're committing to your goals, the more that you're actually going to start seeing them come into fruition in April and May. But it might take a team of people to help you get there. Being that it's aligning your 5th house lord, and also it's aligning with Venus, which is the lord of both Libra and also Taurus. It's possible that a friend is trying to set you up with somebody, or somebody who was a friend might be something more. You never know. It can be possible that you meet somebody on a dating site or through some kind of network in some capacity, and you guys might have something in common in regards to just your lifestyle and your interests in general and your goals. So you might be finding people who are more goal-oriented. Very, very strong energy that's building with that conjunction though. On the 5th of the month, you're going to see the Sun and Jupiter cross into Pisces and conjunct. You're feeling optimistic, dreamy, psychic, intuitive. You are so emotional, so empathic. Oh my gosh, get your salt scrub, be taking your clearing baths, because it can have you very much in your feelings, very emotional, but it can also have you really optimistic about the future and becoming very spiritual. And both the 5th and the 13th are going to be days to watch when the Sun conjuncts Jupiter and Neptune, and you start coming into the vision for the future. Sometimes you need to find yourself alone to do this, because Neptune can deal with isolation. So I think that it isn't until you're on your own that you really kind of find your path. You might want to kind of have more time to yourself. Take a spa day, pamper yourself, take good care of your physical body, drink lots of water, meditate, and rest, because those are days where you're going to feel much more in tune. Now, on the 5th and the 6th of the month, we're going to see that Mercury will come into a square with the nodes, Mercury in the 12th house. A very prominent dream or intuitive hit or insightful, secretive conversation, maybe a therapy session, maybe a reading, is going to give you some kind of insight or information as to where you go next, right? So the nodes right now in your astrology, you have the South node that is currently in your 9th house, and your North node, which is currently in your 3rd house. So even more so, I think it's an insightful conversation, maybe getting insight as to whether or not you should move, whether or not you should continue your education, whether or not you're open to sharing a secret with someone. Something like that can happen with that Mercury square the nodes. I'm also getting the feeling that because Mercury rules your 7th house of relationships, you unexpectedly find out you have an admirer or somebody who's kind of following your work or wanting to get a hold of you. It can be that you're feeling like somebody's trying to get a hold of you on the astral realm. So you're having dreams about somebody repetitively and you're like, what does this mean? So pay attention if that happens. Then on the 6th, Mars and Venus move into the 12th house. Ooh, this can be great for romance, sex, relationships, bedtime pleasures. That's what Pisces rules. So for you to have Mars and Venus going through the 12th house, maybe you've connected with somebody, they're different, they're spiritual, they can be from a different culture, a different background. You're kind of keeping it hidden, like you don't really want to share it with anybody yet. So there's a sense of like getting a feeling for it, or maybe sharing lots of art and music and film and culture with this person and getting to know them. But as the months go on, you're going to see all these planets crossed into your ascendant, and maybe you're going to be more open about some kind of romantic partnership. So that's really great. I'm liking both of those in the 12th, but also in the 12th house, it can be about releasing and letting go, healing. So healing through old relationship trauma, old friendship trauma, and learning how to communicate and express your way through that, okay? On the 19th, Venus in Aquarius in your 12th house comes into a square with Uranus. And that tells me that you may very unexpectedly either have an exchange or have a message back and forth or an email with somebody that you didn't see coming. It's very sudden. It comes out of the blue. It can be like a note you find on your car. It can be a text message from a number you don't know, an email from somebody from the past. And I have a feeling that it can just be a little unsettling and a little startling, or just a series of dreams that you're having that don't make sense and you're trying to decode them. And being that it's going to square Uranus in your 3rd, I would say grab a dream dictionary, take a look and see what it is. Perhaps maybe you're also focusing more on just learning more about a particular type of cultural belief, spiritual belief, picking up a new book, and just like a change in some of your self-help and wellness kind of preferences. Hypnosis, meditation, therapy, readings, all these things can be really helpful for you. But because Venus is in a square to Uranus, there's always just kind of like feelings that get rubbed the wrong way, right? And Uranus rules your 12th house. So it can be like this feeling where it's like, okay, it's too little too late. This person's come back too late. And, now I'm over it type stuff. On the 20th of the month, we're going to see that Mercury comes into a conjunction with Jupiter in your sign. So you have a lot to say, you have a lot to share, you're feeling inspired, you're feeling knowledgeable, maybe you want to give somebody a piece of your mind. That's kind of the feeling that might happen. And it's a time to post and communicate and express. If you got to launch something, if you got to tell somebody about a project, about a course you're working on, a book that you're writing, a play that you want somebody to see, communicate, communicate, communicate. You're going to get much more exposure than usual. It's a wonderful time to consider some kind of a drop, especially when it's like giving a presentation of sorts to a group of people. On the 22nd, Mars in Aquarius comes into a square with Uranus in Taurus. So once again, we're seeing that square with the 12th to the 3rd. So maybe there's a situation going on where somebody reached out to you on the 19th and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? I need to get some insight. I need to wait a couple days before I respond to this email. What do I say? And I think that it's going to push you to act, or somebody's going to be like, hey, did you get my email? Did you get my message? And they're going to follow back up with you and try to see if you're going to respond. Be mindful that people are trying to get a response from you. And even if they're not reaching out to you in real life, you're going to keep having reoccurring dreams where you might feel like somebody is trying to get a hold of you on the astral and it's annoying and you're like, what does this person want? Why are they invading my dreams? That kind of stuff. Just watch out for falling asleep at the wheel, texting and driving, being drowsy, any medications or anything. If you're traveling and you're tired, pull off the road. It's really important for you to practice being careful with electronics while you're moving, and anything like that. You might feel like a little bit kind of spacey with all of these energies with Pisces and Aquarius around the end of the month. On the 28th, Venus comes into a conjunction with Saturn, and that makes me feel like you're like, no, I'm putting this in the past. I'm releasing this. I'm letting this go. This doesn't bring me joy anymore. And maybe it's a time when you really like let something go and you heal it, and maybe cut somebody off. Saturn Venus can be like, okay, I'm not in love with them anymore, or now I know the truth, or, now I have peace. It can also materialize as, you thinking long and hard about whether or not you want to wait for somebody. If you have had your heart broken recently and you're like, I can't do this anymore, that's a really great time to release it and let it go. But it's also a great time for connections to Venus, devotions to Venus, buying yourself flowers, playing music, giving offerings to the goddess to be able to help you move through that energy, so it can bring you new love and relationship options. Then on the 30th, you're going to see Venus come into the square with the node. So like all the other signs, nobody's really going to get a break when it comes to the end of the month. We have to apply love and then a little bit more. And in your case, I think with Venus being in the 12th house, the Saturn conjunction is enough. But then it's going to square the nodes and you really have to release and let it go. Maybe it takes you a little while to respond to somebody. You know, maybe somebody reached out to you and you were so kind of taken back by what they said to you around the 19th or the 20th that takes you some time to finally reflect and then, you know, either say, I'm not giving them a response at all, or I'm done. It can be a wonderful time also to just make commitments to really go and explore more in regards to spirituality, picking up a spiritual book, learning tarot, learning astrology, and learning just patience when it comes to communication, and that you don't always need closure from another person to get closure. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting looking at these aspects for you. So let's see what the cards have to say about that. Wowzers. Okay, so this came up reversed. So this is the Nine of Swords reversed. Releasing fear, healing, relief, ending mental torment, recovery, facing life, finding help, learning to cope, letting go, releasing. It's like, oh, it's done, you know? So if there is a situation where you felt like you never got closure, it looks like you're going to get it. If you've been really stressed out and mentally exhausted, it looks like there's healing on the way, but a lot of this is just releasing and letting it go, right? Not being afraid any longer, not being afraid to shut the door, not being afraid to heal, not being afraid to be alone. Anything in regards to disruptions in your sleep patterns really needs to be watched, because Nine of Swords I find is like anxiety keeps you up all night and then you think about it, or you're losing sleep over a situation. So I would say it's really important to make sure that you're emotionally supported and realize that there's still a lot of planets going through your 12th house, Pisces. Okay, it's going to be like this until about April. So even though it's going to be your birthday, and you have all these planets conjunct Jupiter and you're optimistic for the future, you want to keep reminding yourself, I am all that I need. It's just me at the end of the day. I need to focus on the relationship with myself. I'm optimistic. I'm not going to let some of these things that have kind of happened get me down. I'm not going to let it shut me off from the world. I'm still going to remain open, and there's a lot of good that's going to come. And it'll start to make more sense as we get into April and May. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful for you. And once again, wishing you a very happy birthday. Wow, guys, that was a long one. So whoever watched this video and put the timestamps, you're the real MVP, because honestly, I had to do this in 2 separate videos because it was just so long. And I didn't want to make them short and not clear, because honestly, this is going to be a very colorful month ahead. So I feel like more than anything, March, April, May, people are going to need lots of in-depth horoscopes. And as much as it's tedious, whenever I'm done, I'm always just very like, I got it out. Okay, great. And then I start writing next month, you know? So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. Thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing. Let me know, what are you anticipating for this month? How are these energies already playing out for you? We saw some great responses from the horoscopes last month. So if you guys like these and you want me to keep doing them, give me a thumbs up. It takes a lot of time, but as long as it's helping you guys and giving you guys insight, I hope that that's, you know, that's what it's doing. If you want to book a reading with me, check out my links below. Check out my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. Check out my social media. You want to follow me, you want to learn astrology with me, sign up for my newsletter once again. And I am hoping that this is a really positive, spiritual, healing, therapeutic month ahead for everybody in March. Hang in there, and I look forward to seeing all of you guys next month in April. By the end of the month, a lot of these predictions will make sense. So don't hesitate to circle back and let me know. Otherwise, I'll see all of you guys very soon. Take care.